Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnocky, and as always, I'm here with Matt Stewart and Jess Perkins.
Hello.
Hey Dave, how good is it to be alive? I'm loving life and I'm loving you both. It's so good to be in your presence once again.
Thank you so much. Is there another person you're loving being in their presence right now?
Not today, I'm afraid, but oh, hang on. I didn't look in my periphery. Who's that over there?
Joining us this week, a very special guest returning to the podcast, and finally we get to pod together. It's Marcel Blanche-de Wilt. Yeah!
Yes, I have returned. Mission Impossible, one of your longest episodes ever.
Yep.
But I think weeks later I was usurped.
Yeah, like 2 weeks later.
What episode was that again?
That was Princess Di.
Oh, and then the New York to Paris races, I think, is now the longest ever, maybe.
So Dave went overseas, and Matt and I had some guests come in, and we realised that Dave serves much more of a purpose than just the footstool we use him as. And
Hey, my head.
he really keeps the ball rolling because Matt and I just let it. It just kept going.
Yeah.
Do you guys not have enough going on in your lives that you like having? Why don't you book more appointments post
Yeah, that's
episode?
true.
Oh,
you know?
you're right. We need hard deadlines, or Matt and I will just go forever.
Yeah,
We just love chatting. We love hanging out with people.
I think that is the thing, because we've got to go at a certain time today, and it's my fault.
How many roast dinners are your partners throwing out when you get home?
So many. That's unrelated. He's just it's just a hobby of his.
They're waiting until, you're there so they can scrape it into the bin with a knife.
Yeah.
I always thought
Putting out the candle
They see
that's
the
down to the nub.
car into the driveway and they're like, okay, here they come.
I always thought it was the strangest phenomenon in movies and TV shows where they do that moment. They're like, oh, well, it was cold. And then they're just scraping it into the bin. It'll keep. There's no meal.
Yeah.
That if it's a little bit cold, it's like, well, that's
ruined.
useless. Yeah.
Pop it in the oven.
You knew for a while that they weren't coming home.
Why are you serving dinner if they're not here yet?
Can I just say, if a full roast is going in the bin, I'm getting in the bin. I love a roast. I'm not missing out.
Get in that bin.
Get in that bin.
No way. So, Marcel, you're on a bit of a, let's just say this, a podcast jaunt, a bit of a media tour.
I love a jaunt. I love a tour. I mean, what can you do in this fast-paced publicity world but do the local pods when you're trying to sell your Melbourne Comedy Festival show?
I love it. It's a great.
Fast approaching.
It's the new way. It's the new way. So you are doing a show at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, which we all are, and we can talk about them now. First of all, Marcel.
Yes, it's called The Newlyweds. It's an improv show. The two of us, me and my wife, we are not newlyweds, but it was the first draft name. Like many first draft names, you go, well, that's going to stick around.
You were newlyweds at one point.
We were newlyweds at one point, exactly. We do a show, and it's completely improvised. We get a couple of suggestions. You guys have seen it. Matt hasn't seen it.
I loved it.
I haven't seen it. Is this the show, Dave, that you talked about someone kept walking in on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
He really made the show.
There was, someone who walked in 3 times into the room, then fell asleep, and then got startled and left.
It was
And they weren't part of it?
A drunk guy who wasn't even a friend of ours or a fan of improv. He just wandered into the venue and...
Was the audience thinking, there would have been people in the audience thinking, this is part of the show?
It's so strange what people think is the plant. Someone heckled you in that audience and called you a fuckhead. Did you tell that guy to do that ahead of time?
Was that your dad?
Yeah, and you're like, oh, God, why would I plan that sort of thing?
Yeah.
But we addressed it, which is the beauty of improv. And like he ended up coming in at the end at like the most perfect time to wrap up the show. So we almost should have paid him something.
Yeah.
Get that guy back. Get him on the payroll.
That was
Loved
incredible. He was also sitting sideways at one point, and he came back in like 48 minutes into the show, sat down with his chair facing a different direction to everybody else, and immediately just got out his phone.
What was so great about when he first came in, he was like, oh, no thank you, and walked out. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, you want to have an audience member who decides they're not into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will show myself out. But then you don't expect to see that person
Come
again,
back
2 more times.
and again.
An
Yeah.
empty seat is better than someone hating the show.
Exactly. Which is why you don't just fly at anyone on the street. If I could have Do Go On listeners in the Newlyweds audience, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
And where will they be turning up and on what dates to see the show?
Don't quiz me on dates,
Okay.
all right? It's still too early.
Sometime in April.
Yeah, it's the first 10 days of the Comedy Festival at Storyville. We're doing 10 shows only. And the beauty of long-form improv, what we're doing, like we're not theatre sports. Okay, we're doing long form, which is essentially we get a couple of suggestions and we do a long play. It's comedic. Me and my wife play multiple characters. It's real stupid.
What are you doing, the
It's
Harold?
real fun. It's not a Harold, but I'm impressed that you're dropping lingo, okay? Because
I did
I did
too,
go to Chicago to study the Harold.
I did 2 units of Chicago style.
It
so,
shows.
I
It
hated
shows.
it. I hated every minute of it. I just felt uncomfortable the whole time.
And yet, when I listen to episodes that do go on, I'm like, oh, I can hear
Yeah.
that Chicago style coming through.
Now that deep dish is coming through the cans.
Oh, a bit of
How do
wind coming through.
How do you feel about the deep dish?
I've never been to Chicago.
You could have a deep dish at home.
Yeah, it sounds more like a quiche almost, but I think I'm happy with just normal dish. But until I
Yeah.
try it, I can't.
Do you ever go into a pizza shop and say, I'll have normal dish pizza?
Yeah. Just normal dish, thanks. Hey, sorry, I'm from Chicago.
Is this the Harold?
Yeah, I think are we in a
Doing
Harold?
it now?
That's the thing they do.
Matt is sweeping the
I'm sweeping it. That's cutting it.
What does
Cutting-
that mean?
So if
It's an edit.
someone who's off stage will walk, but they'll just decide we've had enough of this, and they'll just walk across the screen,
I want to just gong you.
and that's it. They just have to start a new thing. Yeah.
Love it. There you go. And who's Harold?
Do
we have time for
It was
this?
just a name pulled out of
Oh,
here.
okay.
This
Marcel, one time-
today's report is not going to be about
You've
the
got to
Harold.
come back one day and tell the story of that guy who came up with the Harold. What's his name?
Gosh, I considered Del Close founded IO, and I can't remember if Harold is directly attributed to him, but he's one of like the big godfathers of improv. But also a twisted and not great guy.
Really? A guy in
apparently, as well.
improv? Huh. That's
The
weird.
godfather being a creepy guy.
I
in
wouldn't have
improv.
seen that coming. They're all improv people I've met. Really great.
Yeah. Hey, I'm one of the improv people
I know,
you've met.
Marcel, I think if you actually rewind the tape, you'd hear that what I said was all improv people I've met are great.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. My apologies. Sweep at it.
I've looked it up, Marcel, just quickly. Your episode was 3 hours and 49 minutes, which is longer. The Princess Diana one was 3 hours 23, but you were just pipped by the 1908 New York to Paris motor race, 3 hours 54 minutes.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's
Well, I
very
think it's
close to
unfair
the
as well
longest
that Dave, like, I almost feel like you. This is against me that you have an appointment and now I can't even attempt to
Sorry.
beat the record.
Sorry, but I cannot sit still for 4 hours.
Well, I mean, we're doing a good job because we haven't even got close to the topic yet.
Okay.
What if I just keep going and you guys all leave?
Fine with us.
Or I send you the rest of
Yeah, that's fine. We'll just tell you how to turn off the mics.
It's
and,
just me from my bedroom with the rest of the episode.
Let's explain how the show
Okay.
works and then let's get into it. What do you
Okay,
reckon?
so what we do here, Marcel, is, which I know you're aware of, we take it in turns to report on a topic, often suggested to us by one of the listeners, go away, do a little bit of research, bring it back to the group, and you've brought us a guest report this week, which we're stoked about.
I have.
And we usually start with a question. Do you have a question to get us on the topic?
I do. It's a little game called Name This Theme Tune.
Oh,
wow.
Yep, I'm going to use the art of a cappella to pretend I'm instruments.
This,
Oh,
is
yeah.
this is a first, I believe. I love it.
Oh, no one's done Name This Theme Tune
No.
before?
No.
Not for the Princess Di episode?
Like a candle in the wind.
That's our theme tune, all right. All right, name this theme tune.
Okay.
Bum ba bum 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 ba bum bum ba bum bum.
Indiana Jones.
Wait, Matt's still going.
Hang on. I got this. Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, my report is all about the Wheel of
Burjo!
Fortune. Yeah,
Come on down.
Did Burjo have something to do with Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah,
thought he was-
posting it counts.
I thought he was catchphase.
Yeah, as well.
Ah.
People can have two jobs. He's a
Wow,
millennial,
not
okay?
Not in my world.
Is it Indiana Jones?
It's Indiana Jones.
Some of my favorite all-time movies.
Yeah.
That was going to be my
Seen 'em.
first question. What, you haven't seen the
No,
Indiana
haven't
Jones
seen-
movies?
no.
You're too busy living them.
Yeah.
Being dusted off by an archaeologist.
That's right. Fedora wearing. I'm going around being insensitive to other cultures.
Oh, I'm not saying
stealing
you.
their shit.
I'm not saying you are Indiana Jones.
You're
I'm
saying
saying
you're
you're
being
one of the.
dusted off.
You're one of the relics that he might
Yeah.
find.
You're an old.
And-
You're old.
Need that today,
You
Marcel.
piece of shit.
And dusted off is a sex thing, yeah?
Yeah.
You should-
Harrison Ford's dusting my dick for Prince.
I've
And
had a look.
All he found is his own.
Who are the?
I've had a look in our suggestions.
Uh-huh.
Aaron Wolf has suggested Indiana Jones. The reasoning being they are great movies, which
Okay.
isn't
Aaron
untrue.
ain't wrong.
And other than that, people have suggested they've used it as like Indiana Jones as an example, like, oh, this is the female Indiana Jones or the real life Indiana Jones. But it looks like He might be the only person who's just suggested the movies of Indiana Jones.
Who did credit the real life Indiana Jones? That might come
There's
up.
a few.
Oh, okay.
It's a couple of different names that have come up by the looks of it. So
Yeah, right. I wondered if you'd done any of the real life ones, but
I had one up for a
we'll come
vote recently, but when I was looking for them, I reckon there's 8 or 9 different real life Indiana Joneses.
yeah.
I can't believe you haven't seen any of the pictures.
I tried it. I started watching the first one once because Andy Matthews loves them. They're his favourite films. And I fell asleep.
Really? Famously one of the best opening action sequences ever.
Yeah,
And you fell asleep.
I think I was tired. I was working a real job.
Something
back
about
then.
rolling boulders just puts you right
That's
to
how
sleep.
it starts.
Yeah.
Freaking hell. I want to do them. I want to do the whole series for primates at one point because there's monkeys in most of them, I think.
That's going to come up as well. Also, well, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not going to tell the stories, are you?
Have you heard of a Brazier recap?
Oh,
Jess, have you seen them? We didn't ask you.
I think I've recently watched the first one, but I don't think I've seen others beyond that.
no. Do you think I'll enjoy them after them being spoilt today?
The recaps will be, I've taken the Wikipedias and I've put it into my own words and I've thrown in some things. So this whole thing isn't going to be a recap. So I'm going to give you a bit of everything. We're going to get a sense of like how the movie came to be, the film series, a little bit about what happens in them.
The film? Or did they make a Wheel of Fortune film?
Who is this guy?
I'm confused.
Only 2 units of Chicago style improv. That's what happens. That's what happens to someone.
Yeah, his improv one's about Wheel of Fortune and he can't escape it. It's his go-to every time.
I
He's
remember
stuck in the bit.
one time I often got good laughs, but I never knew what I was doing, and I was just always feeling like I was panicking. I remember one time someone's like, "Hey," something really awkward, like, "Hey, what do you do?" I'm a swashbuckler. I'm swashbuckling.
I'm getting a laugh from Jess right now.
But I'm laughing at him.
Yeah. I think it was always just like, oh, it's funny because he's bad at this.
I find somebody getting very flustered and yelling a random word quite funny. Swashbuckler.
So I will say I'm excited that we have a ticking clock today. This is good. This is going to be good.
Would have been more appropriate for the Mission Impossible episode.
This is true. This is true. But
we got to stop saying that because there are people out there who think we rush through topics because we're pressed for time. That's not really what's going to happen. You just have a report that's going for the amount of time we've got, which is over 2 hours.
This is true. But the room is slowly filling with water. We should mention that, shouldn't we? Is that rude as a guest to mention that?
Yeah, it's an audio medium for a reason, Marcel.
Okay.
If we wanted to make it smell-o-vision, we'd do that. Is that how you feel water?
My socks are soggy right now is what I'm saying. And I just feel...
You're welcome. That'll keep you nice and cool on this hot day.
Let's talk about the theme because I just, I sung you the theme. I think perfectly, pitch perfect.
Yeah.
I knew it straight away.
Yeah.
It's an iconic theme. If you go to the Blue Mountains and you go down, if you go to Scenic World in the Blue Mountains and you go down their little roller coastery thing in New South Wales, they play the Indiana Jones theme as you're going down.
Wow.
It's about 15 seconds long, so it's not very epic, but it's kind of fun.
I imagine they've bought the rights to that.
I don't know if they have.
That's why they keep it 15 seconds.
Yeah.
But it feels so epic. You start going down, you're like, oh, great. I'm going down this little roller coaster down a hill, and then it abruptly stops.
As they're going down, though, there's a Weird Al Yankovic style parody. So they go, no, that's okay. We can get past on the parody law.
Jim
for
Deanna
copyright.
Jones, yeah.
We're reviewing it on the way down. It's okay. We're just using this for review.
We always give our opinion on the piece. It's composed by John Williams, and I found this out about John Williams. He has been nominated. That's John Williamson, I believe.
Okay, sorry.
He's not famous for composing for Steven Spielberg. John Williams has been nominated for. Anyone want to guess how many Oscars he's been nominated for?
12.
52.
What? You said 12? You look like such an idiot.
And how many for John Williamson?
I don't have that.
Okay,
on
sorry.
record.
What is that? What's that emu one he does? Then he's got
True Blue.
True Blue.
True Emu.
True.
What else he got?
52?
But to make you feel better about your achievements in life, he's only won 5 of them. So,
Only 5?
yeah.
Suck it, John.
Yeah.
Is this Williamson or Williams? Rip Wood Chip?
Rip
That probably
Wood
won
Chip
something.
is a big one. Is
Yeah.
a big one.
But 50, that is incredible.
That's amazing.
Rip Wood Chip, turn it in the paper.
It's an incredible song. You should look it up.
Did John Williams win any for Indiana Jones?
I I will reveal that at the end because I didn't have that information.
Oh my God, I
don't-
was just wondering that because that theme song is so iconic. Sometimes stuff that wins, like, best original song, whatever, we'll never think about that again. But Indiana Jones, I'm thinking about that weekly.
Yeah, they don't have most iconic song at the Oscars.
He also did the Jaws one, didn't he? That's iconic. And the Star Wars ones. The man's done a few rippers.
The man's done a few.
It's true. It's true.
Rip wood, ship, turn it into paper.
He could probably get his own report himself. So I love Indiana Jones. I was someone who watched the third one a lot because that was the one that was on TV. Sort of the same with like Back to the Future movies. Channel 10 was showing the second and third one a lot more than the first one, so I watched these backwards.
Yeah.
So I always loved the third one.
It's so good.
But we're going to start with the first. Our story begins in a little island that Jess Perkins will be familiar with, Hawaii.
Been
Oh
there.
my God.
A cluster of islands.
All right, don't Hawaii explain
It's
me.
an archipelago, mate.
Okay.
So the year is
Is it Dave, Sarah?
1977, and this is from an article by Steve Pond, published in the Washington Post. Spielberg says, "We were sitting on the beach in Hawaii building sandcastles." Did you know that's what filmmakers, they like to build sandcastles, apparently?
All of them.
The story goes that George Lucas wanted some company in Hawaii as he was very nervous about how his new movie, Star Wars, was going to do at the box office.
So we went to a nightclub on the prowl.
George Lucas on the prowl.
With that weird little beard.
They all have him. Those directors love a little beard.
So
Like his mate. No, George Lucas. I thought you said Spielberg.
well, both.
They're both involved.
Yeah.
They've both got similarly small. No, his isn't as small.
I don't
Spielberg.
mention their beards don't come up in this piece. Is that bad? Have I not been thorough enough?
You haven't been.
So Spielberg and Lucas are talking about future projects. Spielberg had recently bombed at the box office with a movie called 1941. Has anyone seen
no.
Yeah, good year though.
A Good Year? What were you doing in 1941?
I was probably
Try not-
dodging the draft.
Yeah. Being a coward, receiving many white feathers.
I look like a bloody chicken. Which I guess is apt, really, isn't it?
So Spielberg was wanting to do a James Bond movie, and he'd been asking, and I know you guys love names. You love a good name on
Yes.
this podcast. And he was talking to who was in charge of the Bond films at the time, Cubby Broccoli.
Oh, yeah.
Cubby are the broccolis, of course.
You like Cubby.
Cubby Broccoli.
I didn't know there was a cubby broccoli. That's great.
So he wanted to do a Bond movie, but then Lucas is like, "Hey, I've got this other idea. What about you come and do a movie that I've dreamed up called Raiders of the Lost Ark?" We started a tradition of building lucky sandcastles, Spielberg says. So we used to build sandcastles in Hawaii, and if the sandcastle withstood the first high tide, the film was a hit. If the high tide overran the sandcastle, we were going to have to struggle to make our money back. That was our superstition, and that was our tradition.
So did they just cancel movies if they fell over?
Sorry, Titanic.
There he is, the greatest filmmaker of all time. Basing whether he publishes the movie on the sandcastle.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So George Lucas said, "If I retire, it's yours." Like if Star Wars is a hit and I don't need to direct other movies, then he's going to give Raiders to Spielberg.
Wow. So George Lucas he was only directing as a means to make cash?
Yeah, I learned more about. Well, he just wasn't really into directing. He loved
Right.
producing. I think he liked farming out his ideas to other people.
He just like building sandcastles.
You can't make money doing that. You have to do something.
So at this time, Raiders was simply a Lucas and Phil Kaufman outline, which was another director and writer, for a story about archaeologist Indiana Smith. That was the first draft name.
It's funny because we'd probably be laughing if it was Indiana Smith and right now the draft was Jones, but it just sounds wrong.
Like, do you think you could live in a world where it was Indiana Smith? Aqua has a hit song called Dr. Smith, Dr. Smith, calling Dr. Smith.
Well, they don't really rhyme it, do they? Where are you?
I thought that song was about
yeah.
Dr. Jones, I presume. Was that? No, what's that thing? Dr.
Livingston.
Livingston. How stupid is that? I always thought that was referencing something that's not even the name.
Oh, they've mispronounced Livingston. Oh, well, Dr. Jones, Dr.
So
Jones.
that song's about Indiana Jones. That's so
Yeah, the
funny.
film clip is all Indiana Jonesy.
Right.
Yeah. The clue is
Sorry, I'm
in
thinking
the
of Barbie
visuals.
Girl.
So Indiana Smith was later vetoed because it sounded too much like a Western character named Nevada Smith. I've never seen any of those Nevada Smith movies.
I like it.
So for 5 days, Spielberg, Lucas, and screenwriter Larry Kasdan holed up in Lucas's secretary's house near Los Angeles and shouted ideas at each other.
Oh, the secretary was like, oh, yeah, sure, I can make some room.
Sure thing. I've got kids.
Yeah, I'll get the Lilos out. Put them on the lounge room floor,
Can you boys keep it down, please? It's 3 a.m.
3 grown men can yell in my house.
And like she would just be hearing weird stuff about this archaeologist. Jones, Smith, Jones. Bigger boulders.
2 of the most common names, right?
Yeah, but then you get an interesting first name like Indiana.
Yeah,
you can't have 2 crazy names.
Yeah.
It's sort of strange that you don't meet many Indianas. You meet a lot of Indies, I guess. It's a popular girl's name to be Indy, but it didn't take off.
Yeah,
There's a few, but not heaps.
I always assumed that it was his nickname based on where he was from, but that's just his first name.
Oh, it's going to come up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Monkey's doing a lot of eyebrows.
What eyebrows? Oh, yeah.
Look,
Okay.
she's millhousing those brows.
Oh, you think he's from Indiana, do you? This guy.
Hey, Warnicky, lower those eyebrows. And
And
And the other one.
So they said that like they were making it up as they went along, but then like Lucas always has a different version of events in all the accounts that I read and the behind the scenes stuff. He seems to be I'm trying to put this nicely.
Is this about his small beard?
He seems to have shit ideas and then the rest of the creative team make them good.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad. I don't think he's listening to this podcast.
Oh, the guy that thought up Star Wars and Indiana Jones has pretty shit ideas.
Well, I think he's an ideas man, but then he needs someone to make sure what ideas are taken on and what ideas are sort of moved
Needs
to
a little
the side.
quality control. Every partnership needs that, right? You need someone generating the ideas.
Yeah. Who do you think the George Lucas of this podcast is?
Well, I've got the smallest beard.
I would argue I have the smallest beard.
What? Aiden's pretty big.
We don't want to answer that because nobody wants to admit our ideas are shit.
That's probably me. I mean, let's be honest.
Hey.
I generate a lot of ideas, and I always come to them going, I think I've got a really good idea, and I'm starting to think I won't go in with that much confidence anymore. It'd be more like, just going, Because sometimes they're like, fantastic, this is great, we'll do that. And sometimes like, ugh, have you thought about the consequences of this? And I say, not really.
And that's what you need. You need a consequence person. So,
I've got 2 of them.
Lucas says, it just took me 5 days. Like he said, the story was already laid out. It just took me 5 days to tell it to those guys because every time I started explaining a scene, they'd pipe up and say, no, it's not going to work. Let's do this.
But you haven't even heard where it's got. Sure, you need to hear the whole thing first. And then they go, all right, breakdown. Scene 1, I didn't think it worked because of this. But like he's like, in the beginning, no.
It's done at the beginning. No, I think we do one of those, but how did I get here?
Yeah,
scenes.
exactly. Yeah. But you don't even know who I'm talking about.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. And that's how it starts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've nailed it. Well, actually, you've never seen one, Matt.
No.
Yeah, what's your best guess at you've started watching the first one. What's your best guess about what these are all about?
I imagine they're kind of like The Mummy, but set somewhere else. Is it set in South America?
That's actually how it was pitched.
Yeah. It's before The Mummy though, isn't it? But it's vaguely like that sort of thing. They're going into other countries and taking stuff, but they're the heroes.
Yeah, I guess he's pretty much nailed it. You should be pitching movies.
Yeah. All right.
What do you got?
To you. You should listen to my podcast, Who Knew with Matt Stewart, because each week I'll write a couple of fake synopsises
That's
for movies.
true.
So I've got a bunch up my sleeve.
I have listened. And
Normally, the characters learn a little bit about themselves along the way.
my favorite genre of film. George Lucas, from a 1981 New York Times article written by Janet Maslin, he says, with both Star Wars and Raiders, I started out by asking myself, gee, when I was a kid, what did I really like? Mr. Lucas recently explained he liked the daring do of the serials and the unbeatable courage of their characters, not to mention the 30s settings. Practically every movie star of the 30s has one movie like this, be it Alan Ladd or Clark Gable or whoever, playing a soldier of fortune in a leather jacket and that kind of hat, Mr. Lucas said. You know,
that kind of hat.
You know, that kind of hat.
That's the pitch, and then Larry Caston's like, no, not that kind of hat.
So his idea is like, one of those movies that has been made already.
Yeah, which I think is interesting as well, how Hollywood has that reputation these days of being, they just keep doing the same thing from the past. They've been doing that
forever.
Yeah,
like King Kong movies are remade every couple of decades.
Exactly, but I think it's just so funny that, these days there's no new ideas. There's never been new ideas.
So there really is just limited stories to tell.
When that train arrived at the station, they were like, what else can we do with that train? Let's rob the train. They did that.
Let's shoot it into the moon. Because it's just nostalgia does funny things, right? Because the same people who are going, everyone's rehashing movies now. I want to make movies like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Rehashing
but
movie
also,
ideas.
if you do go a couple of decades further back, then it does feel fresher, like than just one decade back. I
love that kind of movie, that sort of golden age, if that's what it is, where it is like a mummy or whatever. I do enjoy those kind of movies, and I'm nostalgic because of the Mummy, not realizing that it was nostalgic because of the movie makers were probably thinking about Indiana Jones, who were thinking about decades before that. Yeah, and
yet you've somehow avoided watching them this whole time. You've been busy.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I guess I would probably like them, right? I avoided watching, and then sometimes it hasn't come up. If someone asks to watch a movie, I'll watch it with them.
You will.
But
what are you doing after this?
I've got nothing on. I'm happy to. I'm keen to watch some, but I've been sort of saving them for Primates episodes because of the monkeys. But
yeah, great.
What was that Tom Cruise plane movie?
Gun?
Top Gun. Yes. So I hadn't seen that. I never saw that until about 5 years ago. And one of my best mates was like, it's his favorite movie, so good. And I ended up watching it. I'm like, this kind of sucks. I think it was built up too much. And I feel that maybe Indiana Jones the same thing will happen. Although I've heard the new Top Gun is awesome. So it might happen again. I'll go see that and I'm like, that sucked too.
The original Top Gun is not.
But it's not very good, right?
Film.
No. It's if you're lucky, like I'm not having a go. But for me, I was just like, that's wild that this is iconic.
How much hate mail is this episode going to
I'm sorry, Top Gun fans. I'm sorry. I love that you love it.
I want to speak briefly about his iconic hat. It's a fedora. Okay, it's a fedora hat. And
can you answer this? How does he make it look cool when it looks so bad on nerds?
I think it's Harrison Ford is wearing it, and is an extremely handsome man. It's a particular style known as the poet, apparently.
The poet?
I think it's not always the same one that creeps are wearing.
Yeah.
I didn't say creeps.
I'll say it. Creeps. Sometimes they're creeps.
At least one person is listening to this podcast.
I look very goofy.
Taking it off.
I'll wear those kind of hats occasionally and look very goofy.
Are you a hat guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
More of a cap guy, I guess. Love a cap. Very sun smart man. You have to be with my complexion.
So George Lucas talked about the idea of like he took serials characters and put them in space, and it was Star Wars, and I was like, I'm just going to do that again. So let's talk a little bit about serials. They were inspired by episodic thrillers like serials called Spy Smasher, Tailspin Tommy, and Commander Cody.
Oh.
None of those are real, but cool.
Spy Smasher.
Do you guys know what a serial is?
Not really.
It's just something that continues on, right?
This guy's
he knows.
a smart guy in the group. So I'll give you a brief little overview because this is what
like
inspired
a serial
Indiana
killer.
Jones. Yeah,
is someone who does it in episodes.
Yeah, every week there's a cliffhanger. Will he kill it again?
Do it again.
So a serial film serial, movie serial, chapter play is a motion picture form popular during the first half of the 20th century, consisting of a series of short subjects exhibited in consecutive order at one theater, generally advancing weekly until the series is completed. That's a very thorough explanation from Wikipedia just then.
Has it got anything to do with the word series? Serial?
I'm not Latin.
Oh. How did this guy get the gig?
I'm not Latin.
I'm sorry. I'm not Latin, and people are often accusing me of knowing the root words of whether it's old Greek or Latin. And
I think it's just that you wear glasses.
Yeah,
people assume that comes with knowledge of etymology of words.
We assume you know Latin and you have a fedora at home.
Thank you for not calling out the fedora that I'm wearing right now.
Well, you've got a spare one at home.
And my bullwhip. So each chapter was screened at a movie theater for 1 week and ended with a cliffhanger in which characters found themselves in perilous situations with little apparent chance of escape. Which I really like those old days of the movies where they'd show you you'd get a bunch of things, because Lucas and Spielberg, they saw these in reruns. They weren't old enough to be watching them when they first came out in the 20s and 30s. But you'd go see a Saturday afternoon, go to the movies on a Saturday afternoon. You'd sit through 2 feature movies, 10 cartoons, previews, a newsreel, and 2 serials.
But movies were shorter back then, right?
I don't think they were.
So that's a long day.
How it cost you like a quarter of a nickel.
Yeah, exactly.
A quarter of a nickel.
They'd pay you to go in there.
Yeah.
They've got to have been shorter than today. They're bleeding out over 3 hours. They would have been like hour and a half or whatever. Right?
I guess so. I don't have the run times at hand.
You don't have many answers today.
Well, it's a little bit later, but Gone with the Wind was so long they had to have an interval.
Yeah, there's a lot of
right.
interval movies. West Side Story has an interval. Yeah. I like it. I like an interval. People need to wee. And bladders back then were much smaller.
Yeah, that's true. Inflation.
But also the drink sizes were smaller too. Makes you think.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Hang on.
Do you think, which came first?
The bladder expansion or
the big gulp.
The big gulps. I find it strange that in movie cinemas in America, like, you can get like free refills. Who's getting up to...
Yeah.
I mean, for a free real film, right? But they're also so big already. How do you get through one of those huge cups?
Exactly.
I had a waitress bring me 3 pints of like Diet Coke, and I was like, I'm going to die.
At once?
Please stop. No, she kept just taking my almost empty glass and refilling it and bringing it back. And I was like, oh, I can't
But you kept drinking it. You're like, I don't want to be rude.
Well, I had 2, and then by the time the third one came, I was like, oh no. It was.
You would have been caffeining off your head.
Were you okay?
Yeah. I was okay. It was also the time I ate a pretzel that was bigger than my head. It was a good day.
Kept refilling the pretzel.
It was at Dave & Buster's. I got to play Guitar Hero all night. It was actually one of the best days of my life.
Where was this magical land? What
That was
country
Dave & Buster's. You got to get to a Dave & Buster's at some point in your life.
And
sounds
whereabouts
fun.
would this be?
Was this your 10th birthday or something?
No, this is 6 months ago.
Is this in Hawaii?
This is in Hawaii.
Wow.
Dave & Buster's is just like a chain. It's a sports bar / arcade.
Dave & Buster's.
Did you happen to
So
see some
fun.
sandcastles upon a beach representing the
did.
success of a film?
And they were still standing.
Wow. It's going to be a good episode.
They ended up filming Jurassic Park there as well, didn't they? That's another Spielberg.
This is
he
true.
bloody loves that place.
Yep.
He loves... I mean, I guess if you had an excuse to, hey, where should we film? Maybe Hawaii. We get to stay
Yes.
on a beach in a beautiful hotel.
Kualoa Ranch is where it
You
was.
just start writing films around Hawaii.
Beach scenes.
Yeah, beach movies. Like The Beach.
Like the beach.
Thailand.
Yep.
Casting Harrison Ford. Spoiler alert, Harrison Ford is
What?
Indiana Jones.
What a guy.
Is it how long into the movie is that revealed?
Oh, well, there's a beautiful moment where this guy sneaks up on a sort of shadowy figure with a gun, and you're like, oh, this guy's got the drop on him, and then there's a crack of a whip, and the gun flies out of this guy's hand, and who steps out of the shadows but Harrison Ford?
Whoa.
Is he the titular raider of the Lost Ark, I wonder? Thought Dave Warnocky watching the movie.
Yeah. I had it on video.
Oh.
It was one of 2 videos that were at my grandparents' house. It was this one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the other one was The 5 Doctors, the Doctor Who movie that they made in the 80s.
Is any good?
Loved it. I haven't watched it in a long time, but they were the 2. And then eventually we inherited the tapes, and they'd be my go-to sick home from school videos. Just watch them over and over and over.
You're right, Raiders and the 5 Doctors.
Yeah. What double feature.
And how much would you say that those 2 movies comprise your current personality?
About 98%.
Right.
Wow. That's a big percentage.
That'll explain a lot.
I wear a fedora and also a very long scarf.
He's a weird guy.
You're sweating right now.
He's one of those creeps I was talking about earlier.
Take the scarf off.
No. If it's good enough for Tom Baker, it's good enough for me.
So the casting of Indiana Jones, this is from Empire. The casting of Indiana Jones is one of Hollywood's great folk tales. Spoiler alert, it's not really. Spielberg suggested Harrison Ford to George Lucas after a countrywide search for an unknown. So they wanted to get an unknown. Like George Lucas wanted to get an unknown, but Spielberg was like, hey, what if we got Harrison Ford? He was already good
as Han
basically
Solo. The same character.
Yeah, but George Lucas was like, let's not get Harrison Ford.
Because Harrison Ford was an unknown pretty much.
Yeah, he was a carpenter, I believe, was working on George Lucas's
another guy was
house.
a carpenter.
Oh, yeah.
Back
He had
in
some
the day.
wacky ideas.
He had a few wacky ideas, but he also made it on the big stage eventually. His
Also-
name
Yes?
was Carson Henderson.
Wow.
I went on to have, it was a community TV show, but about home renovations. Yeah,
it sounds good. He should get a report. But I just like the idea of like them going, they should get a Harrison Ford type, but not Harrison Ford. And then eventually, like they auditioned other people. A few of them with Tim Matheson, Peter Coyote, which is a great name.
That would get you in the door, right?
That should get you in the door as being called Peter Coyote.
That's his actual name.
Coyote. Yeah.
Ah!
And Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck was almost Indiana Jones.
I can kind of see. I can see it.
that.
Yeah.
Which like some people sort of joked about as like, oh, imagine Tom Selleck being Indiana Jones if, big moustache and whatever. But you watch, he almost got the role. There's audition videos out there and it's quite good.
Could. It's so funny. Can you imagine another leading man getting this leading man role?
But he never got to the heights of Harrison Ford.
But he would have if he got this part, you'd think.
I think so. But then who would have played Monica's boyfriend in Friends?
Not Harrison Ford.
Indiana. Yeah, would Harrison
Connery.
Ford have come in there and been Monica's boyfriend?
I don't think so. I don't think he has the warmth required for that role of Richard.
And then Chandler's there having to be jealous about Harrison Ford dating Monica. Anyway, a different year. We can only dream.
Harrison Ford is on a new TV show coming out on
Shrinking, I believe it's called. Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, it looks okay.
Apparently, it's getting good reviews.
I'm a little sad of that. I'm tired of that genre where it's like sad but funny sort of thing. I think the setup in that show is Jason Segel has lost his wife and he's a therapist who's tired of being a therapist. So it's that sort of sad but funny thing.
And he starts telling it like it is.
Yeah.
You could lose your job, man. I saw the preview.
Yeah.
Something like that. Harrison Ford's like, you're going to take me down with you? Only you didn't say it with kind of emotion.
What's your Harrison Ford like?
I mean, it's as good as anything else.
Man of a thousand voices.
Well, I'm a man of a thousand noises. I don't normally do voices, but I can give it a try. Give me a line.
What about you could lose your job, man?
You could lose your job, man.
It's pretty good. It's not bad.
Honestly, that's possible. Absolutely.
How about this? This is from the future. One of my favorite Harrison Ford movies. What about I didn't kill my wife?
Does he sort of exclaim it, or is it under his low?
He exclaims it to Tommy Lee Jones. This is before he jumps off the dam.
Right. I didn't kill my wife.
That's pretty good.
Really good. Yeah. I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, so good.
That's great.
Yeah,
wow.
Man of a thousand voices.
Bloody hell. There you go.
Number 999 is just Harrison Ford.
So Tom Selleck got cast as Magnum PI, so he couldn't do both.
Exactly, and that was huge. Let's not write off Tom Selleck completely. That was huge.
It's not like he's an unknown like Peter Coyote,
Sorry, Pete.
Sorry, what was his film he did?
Magnum PI, the TV series.
And then he went on to 3 Men and a Baby, don't forget.
Exactly. Did Harrison Ford get a 3 Men and a Baby? No.
I don't think he did. And
was he one of the other men?
He was I think he was one of the 3 men.
And the baby. He played both roles.
God, he's good.
He got to work with Ted Danson.
Ted Danson and Kevin Kline, I think, was it?
No, it wasn't Kevin Kline.
It was the other guy. People are yelling at their iPads.
Is it the Who's the Boss guy or
Tony Danza?
No, it wasn't
It's not
Tony
Danza. Fuck.
Can we change the reoccurring joke to yelling at your iPads?
That's funny, yeah.
So we've got some real geriatric
3 Men
listeners.
and a Baby. It's the guy from Police Academy.
Right.
Oh.
Michael Winslow.
No.
Steve Guttenberg.
Steve Guttenberg. The Goot.
Yeah.
Great. But Marcel, please do go on about Harrison
Steve
Ford.
Guttenberg, a star we do.
Great Simpsons reference.
So then Harrison Ford was cast. They were all right. We can't get Tom Selleck. Let's get Harrison Ford. So they probably spent a lot of time not getting Harrison Ford to just go back around and get Harrison Ford. And that is referred to as Hollywood's great folktales.
That's
not very good.
It's a great folktale,
isn't it?
Of Hollywood,
isn't it? Just
yeah. When you're in a bubble like Hollywood is, they start to believe their own hype.
Yeah, like,
you'd think
what
though
a story.
that a storytelling industry like that would know the difference between quite a dull anecdote and a great tale.
They wanted to get another guy. They couldn't. They got the guy. Wow.
Whoa.
Wow, that's
Should we
weird
make
story.
this a film?
Its own movie.
I wanted to bring up a thing called the Indiana Jones test as we sort of go through the movies in excruciating detail. No, we'll go through the movies in enough detail that Matt can still enjoy watching.
I will
them
be
later.
blocking
And
my
Jess,
ears.
I
during
did
those
watch
parts.
Mission Impossible after you did.
You
your last
messaged me and said you watched number 3. Have you watched any of the other
No.
ones? Because they get rompier as they go.
Oh, I think we must have watched another one.
Ghost Protocol,
Yeah, I think I watched that.
the climbing the building one.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a certified romp.
Yeah.
Blue means goo. Green
Blue means glue.
You fall. Blue
Not-
means glue. Red
He's
means
sticking,
dead.
He's sticking to the wall.
That's right.
Yeah. So if he said blue means goo, that would have been strange instructions.
Well, what's goo? Sticky. What's sticky? Glue. It's a long way around, but you get there.
Jeremy Renner, thoughts were thinking of you. He was in that,
he was in that
one.
in that snowplow incident. Anyway, I'm distracted now thinking about Jeremy Renner. So this is called the Indiana Jones test. People have noticed that Indiana Jones is sort of superfluous in his own movies because the day sort of gets saved without his intervention in most of the movies. That the villains sort of
Implode.
defeat themselves.
Right.
So
I know they melt in one of them.
they do melt in the first one. There's a lot of melting,
I've
Yeah,
spoiled
there's
that
more
one
than one
myself.
melting
Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
but it's about the journey.
Melting moment.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Like the Bicky?
yeah.
They didn't listen to the rhyme. Blue means goo, guys. Those
Blue
Nazis
means
should have
goo.
listened.
So Raiders of the Lost Ark doesn't feature Indiana Jones's name in the title like the other ones do. So we don't get that fun thing that the serials do of Tailspin Tommy and the Sky Bandits, or my other two favorites, Tailspin Tommy, the Weasel and his Skyway Man, or Tailspin Tommy in the famous Payroll Mystery.
Ooh.
Payroll mystery.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah,
exciting?
Oh, that's
it's an
exciting.
accounting one.
Yeah.
It was,
Hey, I was meant to get paid last week. Sorry about
it was a
that.
bottle episode.
It's a mystery. You guys solve it, Tailspin Tommy. Lawrence Kasdan, or as they call him, Larry Kasdan of Empire Strikes Back fame, was brought on to write Raiders, though he had only been a professional screenwriter for all of 1 month.
That sounds about right.
So you too out there can write the next Indiana Jones movie.
And I
Okay.
will.
Not like today's generation where they just expect to get jobs straight away. Back then, they worked for their careers in Hollywood.
For
Now
one
they just go
whole
on TikTok
month.
and go, give me a job. Back then, they would wait a month and then at their cousin's uncle will go, hey, do you want a gig? Writing for a blockbuster? Okay, I've paid my dues.
Yeah.
You're always spitting truths on this thing.
Yeah.
The year is 1936. American archaeologist Indiana Jones recovers a golden idol from a booby-trapped Peruvian temple. So this is
Booby.
it's going to be a long episode if you laugh at every booby along the way.
How many boobies are you going to have in here?
He said it too.
Yeah, if they'd just mentioned the word booby a bit more, Matt wouldn't have fallen asleep already.
Yeah.
He's asleep at this point.
Oh, he's in some sort of dream.
I didn't realize there
sleeping
was so
state.
many boobies, Dave. Did you have those weird pause things on the on your VHS?
Yeah, there was
A lot of
A lot of
noise.
static.
yeah, some
it-
very messy moments
Messy. Not a great word.
on the
to use
screen and off the screen.
How many pauses in the 5 Doctors?
there. Blue means
Oh.
goo.
Blue. One for each doctor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fair enough.
They'll know. They all have a moment.
Who would you say is the sexiest Doctor?
Oh, John Pertwee for sure.
Great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, I'd love to be involved in this, but I don't know who that is. Or
No,
any
my
of the
favorite
others.
actually is
Tom Baker?
number two, Patrick Troughton. Big fan.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
fan.
Right. So this, like, from the start of the movie, you've already got iconic moments. So, like, in the first 5 minutes, you got the big rolling ball that we all know, the sandbag replacing the idol, like trying to make sure he doesn't set off the trap, and he replaces the idol with the sandbag.
These things are still being spoofed to this day.
I think spoofed is the word.
That too.
Yeah, I mean, there's that classic one in The Simpsons where Bart steals the jar of change and Homer rolls down the stairs.
That's right. Yep.
Oh, I should also give a shout out to Alfred Molina, who appears in this scene. They covered him with Tarantulas. This is one of Alfred Molina's first movies.
Absolutely right. It is him, isn't it? Yeah.
Dr. Octopus himself.
He's
Yeah.
very young.
They covered him.
And he's a bit of a... Oh, don't worry about it. I won't spoil that.
he's a bit of a... Oh, He betrays him. Yeah, it's early on in the movie.
He's a scumbag.
Okay? He's a bit of a scumbag.
Throw me the idol. Throw me the idol.
Oh my god.
So
I'm going to have to wait a few
they-
years before watching this, I think.
He's a real Benny from The Mummy, you know?
Oh,
yeah, he has a bit of a Benny vibe. They put real life tarantulas on him, but they couldn't get the tarantulas to react, so they started blowing it with a fan. And
Oh
then
my God.
Apparently added a female tarantula to him because the male tarantulas were too like sort of calm by themselves. And
and the women tarantulas are less calm, are they, Marcel?
that's not.
Maybe
it's not
they're
my
carrying
opinion.
a little more of the mental load, okay, and they're a little
Sorry.
run down and exhausted.
Yeah, they sound like that they brought the drama.
Let me hear what the feminist of the podcast has to say.
Well, I'm going to have to back Marcel on this one because
Because that's just science.
as a feminist, I mean, I'm assuming you're reading from some men who know women.
I can only assume.
So yeah, then I'm gonna have to side with Marcel there as a feminist.
Apparently, a lot of the tarantulas took off after the crew, and a lot of the crew were running for their lives on
Yeah.
this film
If
set.
you can't outrun a tarantula,
Sure, it's got to be like 2 feet, and then you get
Running
away.
they're
for my
walking
life.
for their lives.
Well, apparently, like they had plexiglass set up around Alfred Molina, so the tarantulas, like when they were brushed off, wouldn't then escape. But they just climbed the plexiglass. So
Because they're spiders.
Oh my
They're
god, these spiders are somehow climbing the glass.
Well,
Blue means
blue
blue.
means blue.
They remembered.
So Indiana Jones,
I won't let it go.
he runs away. Like I've got. What's going to be interesting about these recaps is I'm going to make sure I'm not doing like the full recap of the movie. So I'm going to be editing as I go along, so Matt and Jess can still enjoy these films. But I want you to give a sense of the sort of general flow of the movie. So we see Indy escapes the Peruvian natives and his rival Renee Belloc, who steals the idol from him. Renee Belloc becomes like the villain of the movie. And then we cut back to see Indiana Jones working at a university, and we see Indiana Jones in teacher mode. Jess, as a woman, does what version of Indiana Jones do you prefer? Do you prefer Indiana Jones in his leather jacket and hat, or do you prefer university teacher Indy?
University teacher.
I like
Probably
him in
doesn't stink as bad. I'm sorry, I was being asked a question as a woman.
Okay, but I thought I'd feel this one.
I'll take this one. Look, both good, to be honest. The hat's good.
Do you buy the whole thing of like there's all the students are watching Indy the school teacher or the university professor, I should say.
Yeah.
And they are besotted by him.
They're drooling over this man.
Oh, that's right.
One of the women had on her eyelids has written love on one eyelid and you on the other eyelid. And I have written that on my eyelids today to illustrate that.
Did it work?
Has that
Hard to
strategy
do.
worked in the past? Yeah.
You gotta be blinking a lot to make sure people.
I guess you got to
Marcel,
close
you
your
okay?
eyes for a bit,
Yeah.
or blink one eye.
And how
at
do
a
you know
time.
if it's worked or not?
Well, I guess
Well, you open your eyes again and they go, sorry, must have been imagining things. Then you close your eyes and they're like, oh, me too. Oh, sorry.
God.
Well, I'll
Does
tell
it
you.
say,
I'll
does it say
tell
love you or fuck you? What?
I'll tell you something a bit yuck. Is that like George Lucas wanted Indiana Jones to be a bit of a playboy. They wanted him to be like the James Bond type who. Indiana Jones who fucks.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. I'm sure you'll
he
believe.
fucks.
Yeah. So creepily, in an earlier draft, I think this made it to the cut, but it was cut out. In the next scene, you see him waking up next to the Love You student.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It just...
Yeah,
They cut it for time or.
it's a bit weird, especially it being a student.
Yeah, exactly. She may be, college student, but it's... Yeah,
He's
it's not.
not.
Exactly
You know?
right.
It's a different time.
But there's George Lucas being like, that's cool, guys.
How cool is
right?
that?
High-fiving everyone in the
Yeah.
office, I assume.
Different time for sure. I think there's a lot of movies where
80s.
that sort of stuff was like, yeah, how cool and hot is that
yeah.
guy?
Yeah,
He's burning
This
his
guy's
students.
cool. How adventurous is this guy?
Yeah, it's interesting they caught that anyway.
Why I just thought that's sort of strange, but like, what if we make him a ladies' man? And by ladies' man, I mean he has sex with his students. Like that's not the same. That's not the same thing.
And it's also it's rather unnecessary for the character. I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing to his character that needs him.
And he
to,
kind of
He's not
seems
seducing his way into these caves and stuff, or
thrusting into a cave.
Unbuttoning a shirt,
getting past the.
showing a bit of nip.
Yeah.
From my memory, he seems a bit uncomfortable in with the love you. Isn't he a bit like? Ugh.
and that's what I think is better for his character.
Yeah.
That he is a bit like, hey, I'm interested in getting this into a museum. You know,
That's right. That's
Yeah.
my whole thing.
I like old things. I like real old things.
Not young ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the opposite of what I want. I want old inanimate things.
I want to fuck a mummy.
Yeah, you heard me.
Indy gets called up because two army intelligence agents recruit him to go to because they hear the whole thing that Hitler is after the Ark
Hitler's
of the
in
Covenant.
this.
Um,
Bloody hell.
the Nazis are in this, but not Hitler. Doesn't make an
Oh,
appearance.
he wasn't cast.
Hitler wasn't available.
Wow.
Bad, bad painter, bad actor,
But
apparently.
he did go on to do Magnum PR. So swings and roundabouts, and 3 Men and a Nazi Baby. He was in that.
He's a bad faith actor. Is that
3
him?
men and a Nazi.
A Nazi baby.
So this sort of sends Indiana Jones off on an adventure. All right, I've got to go get the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis do.
Because the whole theory is that it's got untold power to whoever finds it, right?
That's right. If an army gets this Ark of the Covenant, they will be unstoppable. And you don't want unstoppable Nazis, do you?
We want to stop the Nazis.
So this is in the 30s or 40s.
This is correct. The 1936. This is
Right.
yeah. So I won't spoil how World War II goes for you because have you seen that yet?
I haven't. No, we did World War One as an episode a while back. Haven't got onto the sequel yet.
Still waiting to see who wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've just got to wait till I've got a full weekend to binge it.
So Indy goes to meet an old flame of his, and by old flame, I guess I sort of mean young flame with Indy's tastes. So he meets Marion Ravenwood, who is the daughter of Abner Ravenwood, who he used to work with. At a bar in Nepal, they reunite, and they used to have an illicit relationship, which is once again creep alert. Indy was about 27 at the time, which means Marion was more like 16, 17. And once again, apparently earlier in the drafts, Lucas wanted her to be even younger than that.
Lucas.
Why,
Yeah.
Lucas?
I
Why?
don't. He thought it would be cool or something. There's you can see entire transcripts of their brainstorming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'd be like, don't write that down.
I don't like put that out in the world.
Yeah, it's very, but because the movie is so big, it's like, hey, anything from this movie, even the brainstorms are like, hey, we should publish that because people like Marion says to him, I was a child, I was in love, and Indy says, you knew what you were doing.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty. Anyway, back to the adventure.
I'm just looking at photos of him as a lecturer. Yeah, he looks like a middle-aged man. He looks older than I was expecting.
I think he's like 37. Harrison Ford was.
I mean, very dashing, very handsome, and I do love a tweed jacket.
Mm.
So I'm feeling inspired now. Maybe a fashion goal type situation here. At the time of recording, we're about to do the Golden Shiny Garys this week. Let's do go.
What
on
is
awards
what
night.
is the dress code?
It's dressed to impress. And would you be impressed with a tweed jacket?
Absolutely. I'd write love you on my eyelids for that.
Might go down the op shop later. See what I can find.
I didn't bring my Indiana Jones costume.
Damn it.
I'm disappointed.
Well,
now.
you can head back to Sydney and
I've
get
got-
it and bring
There's
it back.
time.
I heard you're going to Sydney.
I
Do you
am.
have
I'll pick
time?
it up
yeah,
for you.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So we learned that Abner is dead and the bar is set ablaze. There's this great fight scene. The Gestapo are hot on their tail, so they've got to escape. Marion's bar is burnt down. They travel to Cairo and they meet Jones's friend Salah, who's played by John Rhys Davies.
Great role.
Is one of my favorite characters. Might know him as Gimli or the professor from the TV show Sliders. If anyone ever watched,
Oh, yeah. I used to watch
Sliders.
Sliders. That was a Friday night classic.
That's right.
Channel 10, 7:30 every Friday night.
Yeah,
Where are they going to slide to next? Oh, you've just reminded. I would have mentioned this before, but I just find it so funny. I want to do stand-up about it someday. You can tell me how, Marcel. But one episode, they clearly didn't have a lot of budget left in this season. And so the whole thing was they'd slide into different realities. alternative realities, and one they slid into, everything seemed exactly the same, only the women had goatees.
There was always those little
So
things. What's
funny.
different about this world?
And Jerry O'Connell's like, as I remember, he's like, oh, this place is all right. I'd be happy to stay here. Hang on.
That's like them getting to the end of the season going, we've got no money left.
Yeah.
And
But we do have a bag.
Yeah, we got a
Yeah,
bucket
one of the
of
costume
goatees.
guys is like, hey, where'd all these goatees come from? That gives me an idea. Yeah, one of my favorite shows. Sala was almost played by Danny DeVito, both actors who are not Egyptian, playing an Egyptian character.
Danny DeVito was in it.
It was almost going to be.
Oh, right.
Yeah, sorry if you got excited that Danny DeVito
I was going to say, I
turning-
feel like I would have known that. It's already an all-star cast with Harrison Ford.
That's it.
Is Sean Connery in it?
He's in the third movie.
Oh, interesting.
This is like one of the biggest bits of film trivia that gets passed around all the time, which is that in this fight scene in Cairo that Ford developed dysentery in the blistering 130-degree heat, which is 40 degrees Celsius. So 54 degrees Celsius. That's pretty hot.
No.
It's pretty hot.
That's
No.
They were
really
filming
hot.
in Tunisia. So Ford was too weak to swing his whip for this fight scene that was apparently 3.5 pages that they had to do this fight scene between him and this sword-wielding guy.
3
like-
pages
there's
of
like a-
just whip, and then he whips, and then he swings his sword, then he whips again, and then he whip.
Whip, whip, wood chip, turn it into
into
paper.
paper.
Yeah. And then it depends who you ask, but it seems like it was Ford's idea to go, hey, what if I just shot the guy instead of a big fight scene? He just
And like
Oh, I know that
There
clip.
because the guy with the sword is like huge. He's like 6'8" or something. He's wielding this big sword and he just goes, pulls out a gun and just shoots him.
It's
One of the
great.
funniest scenes of someone being shot to death.
What's your top 3?
Oof.
It's a good question.
I'll have to come back to you. That's maybe number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very funny. Also, we don't know if that guy had a family.
Yeah.
We don't know
It's like
if
that.
he really meant to fight Harrison Ford to the death. Maybe he was just showing off his sword. He's like, I just bought a new sword. Check it out.
Like that Austin Powers scene.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Yeah,
You
it's
have
a great bit.
the henchman's wife getting the call up and learning that he was crushed by a steamroller. And weirdly, that scene cut out of like the first release of that movie. Like I think
Was
for
it?
Time or something. And it's like one of my favorite
Yeah,
scenes.
it's so funny.
It's bizarre. So Indiana Jones thinks Marion is kidnapped, but she's actually alive. They go about trying to find this Well of Souls where the Ark of Covenant is buried. We learn about Indy's fear of snakes. This Well of Souls is full of snakes. I think they got 6,000 cobras, pythons, boa constrictors, and grass and garter snakes assembled for this 2-week stint. Because apparently you can't fake snakes. You can't. It wouldn't work.
Really?
Apparently, they had to get. They realized that their anti-venom that they had on hand was 2 years outdated, and they had to buy
Oh
in
no!
special serum.
Snakes had updated their venom.
They're always updating the venom.
Oh.
Apparently, they had like just an ambulance on standby. But
Sounds like the snakes at Apple and Google. Am I right? Always updating their bloody terms of service.
I'd like to thank our sponsors today.
Yeah, no, good on them.
Yeah.
Snakes. Thank you.
Apparently, like Indiana Jones is in this scene and he is decked out in like, his costume. So he's well protected from these real snakes that are around them. But meanwhile, Karen Allen, who plays Marion, she's just in like a sort of cocktail dress,
ball
90,
gown,
yeah, 90
basically,
type thing. So she's well and truly exposed. And she did not seem to get much respect at all from Spielberg. He says screaming was a problem because Miss Allen was sometimes at a loss for words. Karen was so terrified of the snake she couldn't scream, and of course she had to. But all that came out was air. At one point, I dropped a snake from a scaffolding. It landed on her like a pearl necklace, and she screamed on cue for a week. Whenever she didn't see me, she'd look up, which is just sort of terrifying.
Yeah.
right?
Jesus, Stephen.
I tortured a woman,
Yeah.
but I got great results.
What can I say? He gets results. And apparently this whole time, because Spielberg went way over budget with 1941 and it wasn't really a big hit, he was cutting corners with this and trying to, like, rather than making an A movie, he called it a B+ movie. And apparently a lot of the shortcuts that he made ended up making it a better movie, like when Indiana Jones just shot the guy. They escaped the Well of Souls, and like this is my favorite action sequence in the movie. They have this fight scene around this aeroplane that's slowly turning around on this runway, and he fights this guy called Pat Roach is the actor's name. He's a actor and professional wrestler, and he's the only other actor that turns up in all the Indiana Jones movies. There's different characters
I didn't know
that get killed by Harrison Ford.
And he's not like the most subtle of guys. He's huge, right?
He's a huge
massive
guy.
man.
Yeah, he unfortunately browns up a little bit in the next movie, Temple of Doom,
Right.
and plays a Indian character.
Oh,
And
so
then
he doesn't play the same character each time.
No, because he's dead.
Okay.
He gets killed every time.
That's a spoiler, but
Yeah, he gets punched into a spinning like jet engine.
But
or
one
propeller.
of my favorite tropes in movies is the little guy fighting the big guy, like, and trying to, like, having to figure out, like, there's a good one in Zorro as well, top of my head. I think maybe Princess Bride maybe has a good one.
Nearly every James Bond.
Yeah, big fan of how's this little guy going to be able to overcome this giant guy. And the
Get
way
Smart
that he does
it all the time. He'll Max will punch him, and he'll go all right, and he'll punch him a few times. The guy won't budge, and then Max will start dusting off his shoulders. The big guy's shoulders. Going, hey, sorry about that crack back there. Hope you didn't take any offense by the.
Why are you the man of 1,000 voices if you're not going to do your Max voice?
Missed it by that much.
That's good. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Oh, really putting together your little character reel here. VO stuff. Love it.
I'm imagining they all sound exactly the same, but
The Harrison was flawless.
But
flawless.
there's also a great documentary film of, like, this fan-made film that they recreated scene for scene everything in Raiders when they were kids, and then the documentary is them coming back after decades to film their version of the airplane sequence because they could never afford to do it. And it's a great documentary, seeing, like, these grown men pretend to be Indiana Jones characters and then intersplice with them as kids doing the other scenes. It's very touching.
That's cute.
Recommend it. They then escape. Jones gets the Ark, but then loses it again when they get their boat hijacked. I'm cutting a lot of things, so you still have excitement when you see
Yeah,
this
so
movie.
I'm pretty sure you're giving us the abbreviated version.
And also, Warnicky kept pointing at his watch, going, "Yeah, we got to get out of here."
You're going to annoy people. Stop saying that.
I'm not wearing a watch.
You might be surprised. I'm not wearing a watch at all.
Or pants, but that's nothing to
That's
do with this.
unrelated.
So they find themselves on this island after Indiana Jones he catches a ride on a U-boat. There is a submarine in this movie. Sorry,
Oh,
Jess.
yeah.
They're just dumb. I don't hate them. I just think they're silly.
People think this is a plot hole that Indiana Jones is able to hold his breath and attach himself to this submarine as it travels across the water, but apparently he just held on to the periscope, but it just got cut out and it doesn't actually go all the way under the water.
Right, okay,
So-
yeah.
But I think still quite a feat that a grown man just held on to a periscope and traveled through the ocean. So they get to the island and the Nazis go, well, before we give this to Hitler, we should test it for ourselves. We should have a little peek inside this Ark of the Covenant, because how embarrassing would it be to give it to Hitler and Hitler's like, there's nothing
here.
This isn't a big deal. So
He'd be chill about it, I reckon.
yeah, he's a chill guy. He's famously a chill guy.
Yeah.
So Indy,
Oh, no worries. That's okay. We all make mistakes.
Indy and Marion are tied up. They're next to the big reveal of the Covenant. The lid is opened, and this is the famous face melting thing, because Indy says, "Do not look at it, because you're seeing God's face. You're seeing God, and it's too much for humans to."
But how does he
to
know that in
handle.
advance? He just seems to instinctively know.
I think it was a scene that was cut. But
But he
it
just
is
studies
great.
it as well, right?
He just has, he's a smart guy. So when he says, "Hey, don't look," close your eyes, Marion, you sort of go, "Oh, yeah," you just take it. When
You
you're
go,
watching the movie,
for
you go,
sure.
"Oh,
Yeah,
okay."
and because inside supposed to be the 10 Commandments, the tablets, is that what's inside?
Yeah.
So
For
this
some
is-
reason, it's face meltingly powerful.
He calls
so
it a
it's-
radio transmitter to God.
it's quite a Christian film,
So
it's
it's
like
it's
in-
a moral tale.
right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
What moral have you taken from it?
No, the fact that God is so powerful it'll melt your face. That's a different telling from the New Testament, I think. But the tablets are Old Testament.
As someone who wrote the Old Testament, what?
No, I wrote one of the Gospels in the New Testament.
Oh, Matthew.
Well, you know my work. A little light blasphemy for your afternoon commute. Imagining, because I know a lot of stuff. Everyone listening right now, especially Jonathan, who's driving to work. That's going to freak someone out. That's what I just thought it'd be funny.
Jonathan, you've been driving for over an hour. It's too long.
Maybe he's driving home from work. Oh, it's like, I get to listen to the rest of that episode.
Yeah.
I wonder what happens to Marion.
Well, Marion doesn't get her face melted because she doesn't look.
Yeah, they both don't look. Just like
Not
Lisa,
a looker, Marion.
Just how like Lisa defeated all those billboards that came to life.
Just don't look.
Exactly right.
Another good Simpsons reference.
Great up.
This is the thing. All the Nazis die because they opened the box.
Right.
And all Indy had to do was just close his eyes, and the sort of fire that came out of the box burnt their ropes off, and they're just like, oh, we're fine now. The lid went back onto the box, and then day is saved. Indy didn't really like they would have done that all anyway without Indy's intervention.
Right, the Covenant, it's got its own self-defense mechanism.
Guess so.
Was he going there to protect it?
Yeah.
Or to take it to a museum.
Get it for the Americans.
Right.
Yeah. And also, he's always interested in things going to a museum. But I don't think I think only in the third movie does he say that classic line, that belongs in a museum. I didn't kill my wife.
Oh, that's good.
She belongs in a museum.
It's a weird film.
Give me back my son. That's a different guy, but still. Great line.
What's
That's
that
Mel
from?
Gibson from Ransom.
Yeah.
Give me back my son.
Was that in a Blockbuster ad?
I think it was, yeah.
I think it's also an improv game. I think someone on
Give me back my son.
someone on a Tonight Show, I think, pitched said it to Stephen Colbert or Letterman once that part of their improv game was just going back and forth. You just keep saying that
Give me
line
back my son.
with as much intensity as you can.
Wow.
Dave, what do you got?
Give me back my son.
Oh,
Jess?
I'm not doing it. I can't get into the character.
Does it remind you too much of the
when
son you lost?
Yeah. I just don't know where he is. I've misplaced him.
I feel awful for bringing it up now.
You'd be better at the Taken, because your son has been taken. So you could do that classic line, I'll find you, to do that one.
I'm nervous. What's the line?
That's not quite it. We'll go again.
Hello, it's me,
find you.
Liam Neeson.
Great.
Just wondering if I could have my daughter back, please.
I thought it was your son.
I have a very specific set of skills. I'm a carpenter. I could build you something nice in exchange for my child.
I've got a specific set of skills. Can mix up a delicious martini.
I'm a mixologist. What's your drink of choice?
I'll work at your next dinner party.
Am I close?
Yeah,
or?
I think that's pretty much it.
No worries if not, I think he says.
Yeah, that's how he is. No worries if not.
Yep.
Anyway, call me back. It's a voicemail this whole time.
It's one of those voicemails where the guy says hello and then pauses actually it's a voicemail.
Just kidding.
These human traffickers, they are goofballs.
They
have a sense
They're a bit
of humor.
fun. You gotta lighten up.
So this movie was a big ol' hit. Is a big ol' hit.
Woo!
Right off the bat?
Right off the bat. Pre-release polling showed little audience interest in the film, especially compared to Superman 2. Despite this, Raiders of the Lost Ark became the highest grossing film of 1981.
What do you think the secret to the success was? Harrison Ford must have helped, I imagine.
Harrison Ford. This is also the time that blockbusters were becoming a thing, like Jaws and Star Wars were the first sort of examples of big blockbusters. So now everyone's going, hey, you gotta see the summer tentpole movies. So I think that was a big sort of, the movies had a renaissance. So 330 million worldwide, and played in some theaters for over a year.
Wow.
I don't even know how many months that is.
Just on repeat?
Yeah. Just on repeat, back to back. Some of them,
just
1
one
a.m.
cinema was
screenings.
just this the whole
Just
time.
like your Baywatch channel, Dave.
That's right. I discovered and I told them last week, Marcel, that I've got a Samsung TV, which for some reason has free TV channels that come with it. One of them is Bondi Vet 24/7. One of them is Mythbusters 24/7. And my favorite is Baywatch all the time.
That's so bizarre.
Back to back. And it just came with the TV.
That feels like something custom that you've installed.
Yeah, Jerry Springer, 24/7.
Oh, man.
That's bad.
Just what you need.
Good luck. What does he say? Good luck for yourselves and each other.
Oh, yeah.
Look after
yourselves.
Good
And
luck
each
to
other.
yourself.
Good luck to you. Yeah.
And here's my final thought. Yeah, it's always nice when you give it a little final thought. The movie, each episode needed a little bit of a little final thought at the end.
Yeah.
Can I touch Steve's head? That was the number one request from the audience.
So, like, these...
He was a bald security guard and they wanted to touch his head for some reason. Do we have any questions
But
from the
good luck.
audience? Can I touch Steve's head?
And did he let him?
Yep, nearly every time.
Oh, you.
And
How
then
brutal
Steve-
for the people who he rejected.
And then Steve went on to have his own talk show, which I think ran for as long, if not longer than Jerry Springer.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was called "Can I Touch Steve's Head?"
I wish.
So, this was the sort of era as well when, like, these days the biggest movies aren't necessarily expected to compete for Best Picture. Maybe a Marvel movie gets a few technical nominations, but that's about it. Raiders of the Lost Ark was a different story. It was indeed nominated for Best Picture and Best Director out of 9 total nominations. While it didn't win either of those, Chariots of Fire won Best Picture with another iconic song. But it did take home...
I love Chariots of Fire.
I haven't seen it.
I don't know. Oh, I think I have seen the movie.
But
I was just more talking about the song.
just the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
it's
it
an
goes
iconic
again.
song.
Da, da, da. I love it.
While these runners are on the track
It's the
In-
Chariots of Fire.
in slow motion.
Oh, so good. Really gets you go. Makes you want to run, you know?
Yeah.
It does. So it won Best Art Direction, Best Film Editing, Best Sound Editing, and Best Visual Effects.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty impressive. Although I can't get that excited about Best Sound Editing. Ooh, who's gonna win?
Oh,
Best
Yeah.
Sound Editing this year. I'm sure it takes a lot
What
of
a-
effort and a lot of skill. But
Marcel, a big chunk of our listenership are sound editors.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true.
That's a real kick in the teeth.
Including our sound
guys,
editor.
I love your work, but please don't change my voice, Mr. Sound Editor guy.
Oh, no.
Don't make it sound silly.
Don't tempt
Oh,
him. Do
boy.
not tempt him.
So there is truth to this whole idea of Nazis going after the occult and having an interest in these things. This isn't just made up funny business for the moving pictures.
Oh.
This is actually real. So I did some research. So this is from an article called "It Turns Out Raiders of the Lost Ark Wasn't So Far Off About the Nazis."
Oh.
And then he goes on to quote a book straight away. In Hitler's Monsters, A Supernatural History of the Third Reich, Eric Kurlander, professor of history at Stetson University, carefully tracks the fringe movements and lunatic beliefs that swept through Germany in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Some Nazi leaders firmly believed the Aryan race descended from the aliens who established Atlantis, that Satan was really a good guy, and that werewolves actually protected clean living Teutons against the ravages and sexual depredations of Slavic vampires.
We covered some of that in our Atlantis episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, wild stuff.
I wondered if there'd be some crossover. In German theosophical circles, it was commonly believed that India and Tibet preserved the hidden enclaves of ancient Atlanteans or even living secret masters. One lunatic named Guido von List proved that Balder, Jesus, Buddha, Osiris, and Moses were all pure-blooded Aryans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, I've got some interesting literature to hand to you after the episode. I've really turned. There's some really interesting things.
Do go see Marcel's show at the Comedy Festival.
I've changed it from less of an improv show, more of a lecture of sorts. But very compelling stuff. As late as 1942, Hitler could declare himself a supporter of world ice theory. Anyone else? Before I tell you what it is, want to say that you're also a supporter of world ice theory?
World ice theory.
Hitler was onto it.
Hitler was a supporter of it. Do you reckon that you'd be into world ice theory?
I'm gonna, because I know this could be a trick, and it could be something like support not killing kids or something. So I'm gonna say, I want to withhold my answer for a second.
Pretty smart.
Dave,
I'm keen to hear more.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to make a call. I'm on board.
So this is called, you know it when you write a report, you guys would know this, that some of the words that come up, you go, I've never said that out loud before.
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing that glacial cosmogony might not be the word to say it, or I might have nailed it completely.
I reckon you nailed it.
World ice theory, glacial cosmogony, as it was known, maintained that icy moons had crashed into the Earth, causing floods and geophysical damage, but also bringing living kernels from outer space that would evolve into Aryan super beings. According to SS chief Heinrich Himmler, perhaps the most ardent Nazi occultist, these Aryans possess paranormal powers and extraordinary weapons, one dimly recalled as Thor's Thunderhammer.
Oh,
Mjolnir. Himmler.
It is so wild that people who had these thoughts rose to power.
Isn't it just
wild?
Yeah.
And these kernels that arrived, corn kernels, that ended up being the super Aryans, they popped, so to speak.
And once you pop,
yeah,
you can't stop.
Uh-huh.
Genocide. Himmler would send an expedition to Tibet to search for traces of this primordial civilization. So so they actually did send out people to find artifacts and evidence of these things and have these bizarre beliefs.
So that probably makes sense. That's why Hitler ended up moving to a base below Antarctica in the end.
Is that Aliens versus Predator?
No, that's History of Mankind.
Sorry.
So there is a pyramid in Alien vs. Predator, which I watched last week.
Oh, really? What do you think?
Terrible movie, but I loved it.
Terrible movie, but you loved it.
Absolutely.
Dave, as resident person who's actually seen the Indiana Jones movies, what goes through your mind when I say Temple of Doom?
I like it the third most. I don't think it's anywhere near it. Out of the 4 movies that have been so far made, I think Raiders of the Lost Ark, number 3, absolute cinema classics.
That's the best one?
They're great. Number 2, it's still great. It's good, but I don't like it as much.
It spooked the heck out of me as a child.
I think that might be part of it too, because they, like you said, they didn't play it as much on TV when we were growing up. I think because it is a bit more spooky, and when I did see it, it freaked me out.
Yeah, it freaked me out too. It freaked me out as well. So they decided that they'd go in a different direction for the sequel. Lucas, once again, always being the contrarian, was like, what if we make it scary? Spielberg didn't really want to do a sort of poltergeist thing, but I think both of them were going through breakups, and they're both going through breakups, so they sort of blame that on them being a little bit darker and moodier at the time, and maybe not much fun to be around.
If you don't like it, well then blame Carol.
And the villain's name was Carol, and she was like a monster.
This monster is like, clean up your socks. Shut up, Carol.
Well, the woman in this, her name is Willie Scott's the character's name. She's played by Kate Capshaw. She is just whiny the whole time. She's whiny and she complains, and Indy is always like, come on, let's go. And she's just like, oh, I'm wet. I'm upset. She's in a puddle at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's Harrison Ford's doing, I assume.
As an elephant that Harrison Ford did. He said this is his contribution. Like, this is sort of stuff when you research a movie so deeply, you go, oh, I've learned that Harrison Ford was the one that wanted to have elephants in the movie. Like, that's his contribution. There should be elephants in the next one.
And they went, all right.
Okay, Mr. Ford.
Great.
That's part of his rider.
So this is to set you up when you're ready to watch it, Matt, is this one's a prequel, just so it doesn't hurt your brain too much.
Okay.
They went, hey, we can't have Nazis again. That would be too many Nazis. Let's go back in time before there were Nazis, a few years beforehand.
How did they de-age him?
They didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, they just assume no one. And they also don't make a fuss about being like, hey, I think they have the year on screen at some point. It's 1935 in this one. But they don't fuss. There's no fuss made. They could have called this a sequel and it would have been the same movie because no one would have really known.
You said that guy that was in all the movies, the Beetle or whatever. The Roach.
Oh yeah, Pat Roach.
Yeah. He said he couldn't be in the second one because he died, but he could have just been the same character.
No, he is. Yeah, this is okay. Now you're
gotcha.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Gotcha moment. Gotcha moment.
Is this a gotcha podcast?
It is.
Oh man,
We invite you on to look silly.
This whole thing has been a gotcha podcast.
Yep.
Are you guys even recording?
Nah.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Come on, Ashton. Come on in. we gotched him.
We gotched him.
He's been coached.
it's a new show, but Ashton Kutcher is still hosting
He's still hosting it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Rebrand for Australia. Punk didn't make sense here.
Okay, but gotcha.
Gotcha did.
Yeah.
Yeah, people would say, you've been punked. They go, what?
What?
What does that mean?
Gotcha.
It means we gotcha.
We got you. Oh, very funny.
So this one opens with a big musical number, which is delightful.
Okay.
Kate Capshaw.
Does sound dark. I can tell why you were scared, Dave.
Can you tell? Because I was like, oh no, it's a musical. I panicked.
I love a good musical.
You wet your pants. You were sitting in a puddle.
I'm
wet.
Kate Capshaw sings "Anything Goes" in Chinese. Fun fact is that I was in "Anything Goes" the musical. There you go. Is that a fun fact?
Chinese?
Hold on, sorry. You
On
are the
screen?
resident person who determines what's a fun fact or not. Is the fact that I was in a community musical called "Anything Goes" fun?
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Okay, great. I was a background guy, and my role was so minute
played a tree
that
or
I
something, right?
that I could have not turned up to the musical, and the show would have gone on exactly the same.
Perfect.
That's how small my role was.
Sort of a Harrison Ford type thing. Indiana Jones effect.
Exactly, exactly right. The day still would have been saved. So in this movie, in the starting sequence, Lucas gets his wish of seeing him be a bit more of a playboy, and Indiana Jones turns up in this Humphrey Bogart white sort of tuxedo shirt, looking very dashing, which is also, we could be ranking his looks as, what the sexiest looks. And I say it would be up there.
Okay.
What he wanted from this was like the opening scene sort of feels like the ending of another Indiana Jones movie. So this one opens with him delivering this diamond to this Chinese mob boss, and then the mob boss tries to poison him, and then he's running around trying to get the antidote as this whole fight scene's taking place, and balloons are coming down from the ceiling, and he's hiding from bullets behind bullet shots behind a gong. Bullet shots.
Mm-hmm.
That's a word that people use. We also get the introduction of his little sidekick, Short Round, who's played by Ke Kwan, who people might know from Everything Everywhere All at Once, who's having a resurgence of fame.
Yeah.
He was
Loving
so
to see
good
it.
in that. I just watched that a couple of weeks ago, and I like the what because how he has to play different characters. Basically,
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, this guy! I didn't know who he was. I'm like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
He plays the the meek guy and then the badass guy, and it just like clicks.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this
He's
guy's
great.
awesome. Yeah.
And he also just seems so nice.
Yeah.
And this whole resurgence that's happening for him, he's so excited about it. It's so lovely.
Thanking Steven Spielberg in his speech.
Yeah.
He's thrilled to be back. He saw Harrison Ford at the
Yeah.
Disney Plus Day, and they had a cuddle and stuff.
That's very cute.
What I love. This is actually a better audition story than Harrison Ford, who just got the role. Is that Key actually went in to help his brother audition, and it was like helping direct his brother how to audition. And Spielberg was like, "Hey, he's like, what about that guy?"
Brutal.
Whoa,
for his brother.
brother is like, whoa. No.
I don't know, like if his brother was younger or older and didn't suit the role, but also Key didn't speak much English, so it wasn't really great on script, but was able to. Harrison Ford was apparently around in the office. They were like, "Hey, can we get Harrison in here?" They'll improvise a scene.
Amazing.
They'll do some Chicago style improv, and then the Spielberg said, "Hey, you pretend to play cards, and then you'll accuse Indiana Jones of cheating." And then that scene ended up in the movie,
Wow.
which is cool. And now he's back. He's back, and he's grateful to be here. Ki Kwan. So Willie Scott, as I said, is usually seen as the least popular of the three indie women, although she did go on. The actor, I should say, Kate Capshaw, ended up marrying Steven Spielberg years later.
So this is sort of like Bond, like there's a different leading lady in each one.
Marion does come back, but in the first three movies, they're different women. Sorry to spoil it for you. Marion's the one.
Wow.
We love Marion.
And they're playing different characters. It's not like the actors weren't available or something.
Yeah, always different. I always hate when they have to recast,
Oh
like they
my
did
God.
in the
Mummy
Mummy 3.
That sucked.
no.
I hated it.
No,
Especially
no.
when it's, someone like Rachel Weisz and you're like, she's perfect.
Yeah.
She is that role.
Don't change it. Just kill her off.
Just have it. Oh,
Rachel Weisz or the character?
you open the movie with him being sad. It's like, oh, I can't believe she got eaten by that mummy. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Off I go.
off I
Mummy's
go
gotta
to
eat.
fight Jet Li. Yeah. I could write movies.
Absolutely, you could, and I'd
Yeah.
watch them.
Thank you so much. That's one sale. I could bring that into a pitch meeting. I've already sold a ticket.
Sold one. No, I don't have the money up front. I trust her.
In this movie, like after they escape this club fight scene, they go off on an aeroplane and have to jump out of it using a life raft as a parachute. You know how like an inflatable life raft that you just sort of sail down, you'd use that to break your fall. Believe it or not, Mythbusters did test this out, and you can't do that.
You can't.
Yeah,
Wow.
just in case you
I look
might have
forward
caught
to
that.
look forward to watching that on my Samsung.
on loop. Maybe it's playing right now and you're missing it.
No, that's the thing, because it just says in the guide, doesn't say what the episode is. It just says Baywatch, Baywatch, Baywatch.
Baywatch.
That's all there is. It's great fun.
Thought you guys would back me there, but
So
not very good. That's basically what you call in improv, and I don't know if you know this, Marcel, but that's blocking.
Yeah, there's different versions of blocking. Sometimes I'm playing the role of man who wants to go on.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm playing that role of person watching
In the
Jess check her
scene-
phone as you were chanting.
And
Remember, there's half an hour for the Patreon section. So.
and I'll play the role of block. So I'm blocking you.
So I quite like this plot because they land in like the situation. So like they crash land, they go down a river, and they find themselves in northern India in this village. And in the village, they've lost their sacred stone that protects their village, and also all their children have been kidnapped. So I'd like the sort of hero is swept up, rather than in the other movies, he's sort of given a mission, James Bond style, and like sent on his way. In this one, he lands smack bang in the adventure, much in the way that Quinn Mallory was whenever he'd go through a portal in Sliders. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Finally putting to terms Matt understands.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
So it's, Slider style, yeah. So did they list the issues in that order as well? The missing rock. Oh, and also the village's children.
Actually,
also
yes.
taken-
Actually,
Yep.
it does go rock and then children.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's to sort of break it to him gently, like lead him into it. Also because he's an archaeologist, so he's like, hey, you'd probably be into rocks and
Yeah,
shit.
that's true.
More than kids.
Also, he is into kids as well, but they're probably a little young for him.
Yeah.
He likes them a bit older. So,
University age.
yeah,
Yeah.
university age. They go on their way to Pankot Palace because they learn that there's a new Maharaja in town and he's up to no good. That's exactly how it's phrased in the movie.
Wow.
I am paraphrasing.
Did the Maharaja say that? I hope that's how it arrived. There's a new Maharaja in town, and I'm up to no good.
And I'm up to no good.
Get ready.
In West India, born and raised. And so they go to Pankot Palace, and Willie is not interested. She does not want to ride an elephant. She wants to be back in the nightclubs singing her songs. And Short Round, he's up for it. He's a wily kid, and he's just keen to be. We don't really learn much about what his deal is. He's just there. He's just with them. So they go to Pankot Palace, and they're welcomed in like, oh yeah, come on in. We got nothing to hide. Like everything's fine. They've got guests, and then we sit down for this meal, and this meal is iconic. Dave, do you remember what gets served at this?
Is it monkey related?
It is monkey related. This is for your podcast.
Yeah,
That's right.
Is it in the cranium area?
It is. There are monkey brains that are served, but also really gross, like a big like boa type python gets cut open and like living snakes spill out of it. People are eating like scarab beetles and stuff, like a piñata, like a living piñata, as if like you bust open a piñata and then it was full of living snakes.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
That would be Indiana's
And
worst
also,
nightmare.
Exactly. He hates snakes. But also the kid who's hitting the piñata has to be blindfolded. So they
that-
wouldn't even realize.
everyone's screaming. They're like, what's happening? What's happening?
Did I get it? Don't leave some candy for me.
Should I keep doing it? So, yeah, everyone's really creeped out. It certainly scarred me as a kid watching this. And this stirred up some controversy. They say the depiction of Indian culture, it caused the movie to be temporarily banned in India. They did not like how they were represented. The depiction of Indian cuisine was heavily criticized, as this article pointed out, as dishes such as baby snakes, eyeball soup, beetles, and chilled monkey brains are not Indian foods.
Yeah,
Oh.
that is wild. They're like it's like quite a vegetarian, heavy cuisine as far as I know. I mean, there's a lot of different regions there.
Yeah, it's a gigantic country. And, like, I think to give the filmmakers some leeway, and, like, one of the main actors sort of said, like, it was, like, part of the joke and it's sort of high fantasy, and a lot of Indian movies play in this sort of same high fantasy sort of world, that this is some sort of ancient temple that's up to no good, as I keep phrasing it. But it was taken out of context, and apparently some American teachers did teach some of these things as fact of, like, that's what they do over there.
This documentary.
So dumb.
It was amazing how much great footage they had from back then.
But you could take that a bit as hearsay as well. So they learn that there's more going on in the palace than they realize, and underneath there are human sacrifices going on. One of the other parts that scarred me as a kid is that, before this, Willie gets covered in bugs, and once again, that's another indie woman that got, so we had the previous one get covered in snakes. This one gets covered in cockroaches and giant stick insects and
does that continue on every episode or whatever?
I think these are the sort of worst examples of what they had to put up with, because, like, Kate Capshaw learnt deep meditation just to endure this bug scene, and one other report said that she was given, like, drugs to sort of chill her out. While they put cockroaches in her hair, because she was just afraid of them sort of burying their way into her hair and stuff.
Yuck.
Yeah, it's very creepy. Yeah, the scene that really haunted me is that at one point Indiana Jones gets hypnotized and sort of taken over by the evil cult that lives beneath the palace, and he's sort of at their beck and call, and, like, Short Round is like, no, Indy, no, you're supposed to be the hero of the movie, and he's like,
there's
and
like
tries to, like, and tries to kill the kid. It's not a fourth wall break. You're supposed to be the hero of the movie we are currently in. But
so they were making him, like, cluck like a chicken and stuff.
They're making him engage in human sacrifice.
Oh, yeah, that's a full on. I've only ever seen it on TV where they make him, sing or
this is more the evil cult sort of thing. Have you heard of this
evil hypnotist stuff?
We're not going to do evil stuff. No, I can't remember that segment on the TV show.
Yeah, the Vegas hypnotist. They don't normally get into that sort of stuff.
All right, now rob a bank.
I mean, that's what you're putting yourself open to when you do that, I guess.
Yeah, they can make you do anything.
Wow. Would you trust them?
Absolutely not. No way.
So then this features, like, an amazing minecart chase out of the temple.
That's the coolest bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool. And they use, like, miniatures to make this happen, which you watch again and you can see it, but it's still incredibly well made.
It's got to be top 3 minecart chases. Obviously, you've got that. You've got Journey to the Center of the Earth and The Rock, starring Sean Connery.
Oh, no, Donkey Kong didn't make the cut.
I can't believe it didn't make the cut.
It's one of my... I love the minecart in Donkey Kong.
That level's awesome. Okay.
So
I've learned a little bit more about Dave today.
The final showdown is this great rope bridge scene that I won't spoil for you, but it's good stuff. There's crocodiles in it.
Okay.
Do you have a crocodile-themed podcast that you need stuff for as well?
No, but there is some crocodile scenes in the upcoming series of The Beer Pioneer. I'm Opticroc. Yeah. I'm also going to put gummy bears in there for Minecraft. What do you call it?
Minecarts.
Minecart scenes, yeah. Gummy bears had some great minecarting work.
Gummy bears?
Yeah. Bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Minecart, isn't that the book that Hitler wrote?
Yeah, well, it's a pretty dark cartoon. They have these secret berries that give them superhuman powers.
Oh, interesting.
They're Aryan bears.
Oh, right.
They're the carrion bears.
I want to get to the reception of this movie more than, like, pointing out the tiny details that happen in the end. This movie helped bring around the PG-13 rating. They didn't have that before. So there was nothing between PG and R. Like, we have PG and then we have MA and then we have R. But Americans just had PG or you had R. Even the movie Jaws was apparently PG, which feels crazy to me that Jaws would be PG. So that's you can thank Temple of Doom's monkey brains for that, because it was far too full on. But very interesting. There's some great movie critics that just were not a fan of these movies. Of this particular movie, Temple of Doom. David Kerr said, the film betrays no human impulse higher than that of a 10-year-old boy trying to gross out his baby sister by dangling a dead worm in her face. So that's how it would have compared the movie to.
Ah, right.
Is a 10-year-old boy trying to gross out his baby sister.
Doesn't sound the same.
I thought that was a scene from the movie.
Ralph Novak of People magazine complained, the ads that say this film may be too intense for younger children are fraudulent. No parent should allow a young child to see this traumatizing movie. It would be a cinematic form of child abuse. Even Harrison Ford is required to slap Kwan and abuse Capshaw. There were no heroes connected with the film, only 2 villains, and their names are Steven Spielberg and George
Whoa! Shit!
That is full on.
Hey,
Yeah.
Dave, I think I just learned that Martin is a bad dad.
Because I watched it on Channel 10 when I was like 12 or something.
Yeah, and look how it shaped you.
That's right. I definitely did not enjoy it as much as the others. Just doesn't have the fun adventure.
And
I'm sure if I watch it now, I'd probably be like, "Oh, this is cool for a different reason."
Yeah, it does stay in one location for most of the movie. We don't get that jet setting, country hopping feeling.
Oh, that sweet montage where they're traveling on a plane, and it's half the plane, but also the map and the dot moving.
Love that dot.
Love that dot.
That sounds sick. But the bad thing about this is all these kids would have seen the first one, probably loved it, and
Yes.
the parents would have assumed, oh, they'll be right to watch this.
Yeah, great. Go ahead. Oh
this will
my
be
gosh.
Sounds like no one was thinking about the children.
Will somebody think of the children?
Steve, George, come on.
Well, it still had the highest opening weekend of 1984 and that year's highest grossing film. So it still did extremely well. It was the 10th highest grossing film of all time during its release.
Yeah,
so,
wow.
Okay.
yeah, even though and the critical consensus says it may be too dark for some, but Indiana Jones: The Temple of Doom remains an ingenious adventure spectacle that showcases one of Hollywood's finest filmmaking teams in vintage form. So that's the retrospective review.
And I imagine there would be some people out there who love this. They love Indiana Jones After Dark.
This is the sort of contrarians out there who are like, oh, I like the bad one.
Oh, so it is a worse film, do you think? It's not just the
I mean,
darkness.
everyone can have their own taste.
Marcel, thank you.
I don't want to judge anyone too harsh because there is a lot of cool things in this movie. So hey, each to their own. I say each to their own.
But they are wrong.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to watching them all because I'll not have any of this scared child baggage that you have, and see how I end up rating them. Maybe you're up for doing the whole series on primates?
Let's do it.
So you might want to include what almost was the third movie, Indiana Jones 3 and the Monkey King.
Oh my god!
Did
that get made?
It did not get made. They hired Chris Columbus of Gremlins fame to write this one. What's cool about this is that there's a podcast called Cancelled Movies that do recreations of these these movies that didn't get made, and they even get like voice actors in to do them. You could maybe find some work doing voices for them, Matt.
Yeah,
which could be good for your voice acting career.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll give you.
You know, I went for a year or so back. You might have gone for this. I think a lot of people in Australian comedy went for it. A role on Koala Man, and I was curious to see who ended up getting it, and it was Hugh Jackman.
Missed it by that much. I would put you in the same league.
Yeah, thank you.
As the Jackman. So in this one, it opened in a castle in Scotland where Indiana Jones battled a haunted suit of armor. So already this is the movie that we missed out on.
Sounds great.
Indy fighting a suit of armor, which I think would have been cool. This was one of the ones that, like George Lucas, he'd give his ideas to a screenwriter and say, hey, here's a bunch of ideas, slap them together in a movie.
Make these better.
Essentially, I'll tell you just a couple of quick takeaways. So listen to this episode. It was really good. The Cancelled Movies recreation of the Monkey King. The love interest in this movie is Indy's teaching assistant, so a little bit older than college age, but not much. She's obsessed with him. When he tells him he's off on an adventure to Africa to find the lost city of the Monkey King, she threatens to kill herself if she's not brought along. She even goes as far as creating a noose with his whip and trying to hang herself.
Oh, so we're going further down the dark
Even
path.
darker.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Indy stops her and says, "What are you doing? Trying to break my whip?" So
Oh, wow.
this is not my
yuck.
Indy. This is not my Indy. And I'm so glad that they didn't make it because.
So what is your Indy? He's not cold like this. I thought he was sort of just like a steely-eyed
I
guy.
sort of like an asexual Indy, much in the way like most Arnie characters are asexual. Like that he's just interested in the adventure.
But
maybe smooch a woman, but yeah.
But how was that not asexual? She's gone, please, I want to come, and he's more worried about the whip.
Well, he's got weird priorities. No, but he clearly. I should make clear they have slept together before.
Right.
So he's sort of like manipulating this poor woman who has been strung along by him.
And I should say, I don't think asexual people care more about whips than people.
That's your understanding of what asexuality is. They love whips. So at the end of the movie, this is what you can segue into in primates, is that they make it to the monkey kingdom and there are sentient gorillas there. Who they find, they're sort of smart and welcoming.
Right. What does sentience mean again?
That they sort of are aware of themselves.
Right.
Yes, they're sort of intelligent beings.
Yes.
I believe
Which
is what it means.
I think of gorillas as being sentient.
Hey, for any gorillas listening, great to have you.
If you have a big chunk of our audience are gorillas.
Plays at Taronga Zoo to calm down the gorilla population. There's a big, because the Nazis come back in this almost one, and there's a big gorillas versus Nazis sequence.
Okay,
that
I'd
sick.
watch.
That sounds like I just call someone should make that movie, Gorillas versus Nazis.
Yeah, absolutely.
The gorillas even hijack a tank at one time, and for some reason put on Nazi uniforms as well. So there's gorillas in.
To go undercover.
I guess so.
I mean, Marcel, I thought you liked movies.
But yeah, sadly that movie was not made. Instead, the movie that was made is called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Sadly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, for people that wanted gorillas versus...
Okay.
We could have had both.
Well,
imagine a world where both were made. Although there might not have been a recovery after the Monkey King.
Some sort of utopia that you'd want to live in. So this is my favorite one. So originally Spielberg didn't want the Holy Grail as a MacGuffin, but then he figured out we could make this a father-son story and this doesn't have to be high fantasy. We can ground it. Spielberg is all about grounding the movie. Lucas is all about
shooting it off into space.
Shooting it off into space. Exactly right. So this one, we have the entrance of one Sean Connery, James Bond. Spielberg always wanted to make a James Bond movie.
Penny? It's James.
Oh, okay.
I'm sending you a fax.
Did Sean Connery just walk in? They're going to confuse the listeners.
It's better than my Liam Neeson.
You didn't even try with your Liam Neeson.
That was me trying.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I thought I did a really good job.
You were great.
Thank you.
Can you do Sean Connery talking to his son Indiana Jones?
Indy.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I'm very disappointed.
He says junior a lot in the movie.
Junior.
But he's more like despondent and like questioning.
Junior.
I'm a bad director. It's more like Junior, like that sort of thing.
Oh no, I don't
he's
like
like surprised. Yeah, you don't like that.
I didn't like when you did it.
That's fair enough. I was cruel to you, and I was asking for them. Best opening sequence in this movie because we see young Indiana Jones, played by River Phoenix, and we get an origin story of all the things you've been begging to have an origin story for. Why is he afraid of snakes?
Snakes.
Where did he get his whip?
Normally people hate it when things are over-explained in flashbacks, but you liked it?
Because I'm watching this and I must have been probably 9, I reckon, when I saw this, or maybe even younger, that it was just fun. And like, I would say Indiana Jones 1, a certified romp. Indiana Jones 2, Temple of Doom, not a romp.
Not a romp.
Not a romp. Sorry for all the romp fans out there. Number 3, you were in Romp Town.
Okay, back to the romp.
We are romping all night.
I think this one is like well and truly family friendly, fun old time, beginning to end. Lots of different locations. It's a lot of fun.
Great.
I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also looking forward to the second one to see how dark it gets.
Well, you might want to watch it with the lights on.
I certainly will.
Bit spooky.
I'll watch it outside with the sun on.
On your phone.
No one can get me in the sun.
Oh, have you seen Tremors?
No.
Yeah, well, that's a movie.
That's a movie.
So we see the flashback. We learn about Indiana Jones's these key things. We even learn down to a little scar upon his chin, which is actually Harrison Ford's scar, but we learn it came from when he was trying to defend himself against a lion, that he mishandled his whip and whipped his chin. Harrison Ford got it in a car accident So
Less cool.
less.
Was he
cool.
using a whip in the car
He
accident?
was trying to drive with a whip, I believe. He was trying to use it as a turn signal.
You can't.
People couldn't figure out what he was trying to.
Are you whipping that way? Are you turning that way?
We get the catchphrase that belongs in a museum, which is very exciting. And we cut to young Indiana to old Indiana, still trying to recover this cross that he was trying to recover in the opening sequence. He's been chasing it for years and years. He recovers the cross and escapes before the vessel that he's on explodes, killing all aboard. He's a hero. He's a hero. That's what he does.
Was a hero for getting away and letting everyone else die.
Exactly. That's his whole deal. So he gets back to university, and once again, it's the guys coming in going, "Hey, we've got to send you on a mission." This time around, it's Walter Donovan who says, "Hey, we're after the Holy Grail. You should come and help us find it. Our search has run cold." And Indiana Jones is like, "Hey, that's more of my dad's thing to find the Grail. You should call up him." And Walter Donovan's like, "We already tried your dad. He's the guy who's missing on the trail." So then he's got to go find his dad.
Because otherwise he's got no motivation to go because he's like, that's not really my thing.
It's not really my thing.
Oh, my dad is missing?
My daddy's missing?
Daddy?
Where's daddy?
No, daddy!
Is daddy missing? Is daddy Sean Connery? So he gets to Venice and he meets Dr. Elsa Schneider, who's the main woman in this film, the woman of interest, the starlet, shall we say. Maybe we won't say that. But he gets involved. He gets involved with this woman in sort of a weird kiss scene where he just sort of kisses her out of nowhere and then sort of negs her and says, "I don't like fast women." And they make out and one thing leads to another.
Right. That's weird.
Yeah, it is strange. It is strange, but hey, it works for Indy. So Sean Connery was very interested in contributing to his character. He had some ideas with his character. He said that everything Indiana does, his father should do better. And that included...
that was Sean Connery's idea?
That was Sean Connery's idea.
Funny.
Like, he thought that, well, if Harrison Ford is if Indiana Jones is going to have a physical relationship with the leading lady,
I'm going to fuck her mum.
No, Dr. Jones should also have the same relationship with the leading lady as well.
Same lady.
Yeah, same lady. And
nah.
she's 21, the actor is, and playing 27. But yeah, it's weird. And then speaking of ages, Sean Connery was famously only 12 years older than Harrison Ford playing his...
Right.
He looks so much older though in the movie, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah,
he wears that hat.
Put on a grey beard, put
Different
on
kind of
an
hat.
old man hat. Yeah. But what's interesting too in the behind the scenes stuff, you've got Sean Connery being like, "I should do things better than him, and that would be funny, I suppose." And then Lucas and Spielberg are both like, "Oh, like that? Yeah, we credit him as giving those ideas, but like we made them funny." I think if left to his own devices, Sean Connery would have just made, Henry Jones Sr. a real creep. Who's just like, "Hey, what if I also?"
Because I don't remember. Does he have a relationship with the lady? I can't remember.
Yeah, there's a sort of an iconic scene where, like, Sean Connery says, like, "Hey, she's a Nazi. Don't trust her, son." This is for the character of Elsa, and Indiana's like, "No, I was going to throw my gun down. I want to save her." And then later on, Indiana Jones says, "How did you know she was a Nazi?" And he says, "She talks in her sleep."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can you want to do the line read? You don't like my Sean Connery?
I don't like your Sean Connery. She talks in her sleep.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
He always has like a bit of a one eyebrow cocked kind of thing, Yuck.
So there's so many like great set pieces in this movie. There's this airship scene where they're in a blimp, and Indiana Jones pretends to be a ticket inspector and punches out a Nazi.
Oh, that's
and
so
then
good.
all the passengers are looking on going, "Oh, shit, what's going on?" And Indiana Jones says, "No ticket." And then they all hold up their tickets because they don't want to get punched off the airship as well.
That's good stuff.
It's good stuff. It's a bit of, and like you sort of realize like how funny like Steven Spielberg is. Like he's got a good eye for comedy and action sequences, and like just very clear with the beats of the movie. This is the movie where he meets Adolf Hitler. Indiana Jones comes face
his
to face with Adolf Hitler. I misspoke. I apologize for misspeaking. I've been talking for a long time. You guys don't get it. You've never talked.
Everyone knows he's actually quite a famous guy. People would have noticed you saying the wrong name there.
We'll just call him Mr. H to make it
I'd
easier.
say infamous.
Okay.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Notorious Mr. H. But Hitler just thinks he's getting an autograph, and he autographs.
Hitler's in the movie.
Yeah, Hitler gives Indiana Jones an autograph.
He's been in a few, I guess. Hitler, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was in Downfall.
Yes. Is that the one he was in? Probably in that one with Tom Cruise, where it starts German and quickly turns into an American accent.
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie.
I reckon he was in
The Dictator with Charlie Chaplin.
Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's
some of my favorite Hitler performances.
Quite a filmography.
Do you want to tell me to go on?
Please.
Thank you so much. There's an amazing biplane sequence. There's this great scene where like a biplane is coming to shoot him on a beach, and Henry Jones gets this flock of seagulls to take out the plane for him by like swooping them with his umbrella, and they all
and
fly
making
away.
a very funny noise, like trying to inspire them to fly into the engines of the plane.
Inspire them to their death. Yeah.
Yeah, they die.
They all die. Apparently, they tried to use real seagulls, but seagulls can't be trained.
Seagulls don't look like seagulls on film.
They ended up getting white doves and plastic seagulls.
That's so funny that they used the symbol for peace and sent them to their death.
Yeah, they literally took down that airship as well. Someone had to die for the shot.
Yeah.
The movie ends with this incredible sequence of Indiana Jones having to find his way to the Holy Grail. There's these different trials that he has to figure out.
Only the penitent man will pass.
Wait, wasn't the first film The Holy Grail? That was a different thing.
That was the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, it was a different,
You can
different
remember it from
religious
the title
relic.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
That's in
Which I obviously didn't remember, but yes.
Sorry to speak down to you, Matt. I apologize.
It'd be hard not to from all the way up there. What's the weather like, by the way?
For the listeners, I am 6'5". And the weather
All right, mate.
The weather is humid.
I'm 5'7". I don't know how that's relevant.
Yeah. You don't hear her banging on about it?
Okay. We're all above average.
195 centimeters for those of you who like working in centimeters.
No one cares about this. Why's he going off script here? Marcel, back here.
Back here, please.
So it ends on this incredible scene of Indy having to figure out, so they walk in and there's this crusty old knight that's just guarding all these cups.
Whoa.
He's just guarding all these cups. He's been sitting there waiting for someone to come in and find the Holy Grail, and he's got all these other sort of cups to trick you, and because you've got to be the one to choose the right cup.
I think I'm going to block my ears. This feels like I don't want to hear what happens here. So if you're going to go on, I'm going to.
Well, I'll just say the villain chooses the wrong cup, because the villain's like, well, we're talking about our Lord and Savior here. Like, this is Jesus Christ, so I'm going to choose the most glamorous cup.
He does not get it.
A real blinged up cup.
Yeah.
Jesus, a humble man.
Exactly. He was a carpenter, as they say in the movie.
I would have picked the gumboot.
A shoey for Jesus.
I want to pick the tradies flask.
Yeah.
Traveller.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
I would have chosen the wooden one.
Oh, good point.
It's like woodeny clay sort of one. Yeah.
You guys are all dead.
Yeah.
I was joking. I would have picked the right one.
And the reason that Indy himself wants to choose one is because his father has been shot.
Yes, that's right. That's how the Nazis motivate him to go through all these different tests.
So he needs to...
Just in case I missed that spoiler, is that right, Dave? Jeez.
This whole show is spoilers.
Well, I know, and I'm trying to blank him out as much as I can. And here you are going, oh, by the way, in case you've missed this big one, you are a real piece of work.
That's integral to the story.
You are the villain in my timeline.
But don't worry, because he finds the right one and he's able to save his dad.
Oh, God.
It's a touching father-son moment.
Yes, and that's quite a good graphic, actually, because he's sort of bleeding like from the bullet wound, and then it sort of just disappears from the holy water.
It doesn't really... It heals the wound, but who's to say where that bullet went?
Yeah, it's still plenty of opportunity for infection.
He's getting infected for sure.
That bullet is traveling through up to his brain.
But I won't spoil whether or not he gets infected. I'll keep that.
Okay.
on the table.
Well, let's just say he's going to need some antibiotics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Know what I mean?
Let's just say he won't be in the next movie.
The last line of the movie we learn is one of the last lines is we named the dog Indiana, and we learn that his name's Henry. His name's been Henry this entire time, and he's just been going after the dog's name for some reason. I don't know what motivates a person to go, you know what? I'm going to start going by the dog's name. You ever thought about changing just to your dog's foot? You know,
Goose.
Go by Goose Perkins.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It is good.
Speaking of Top Gun,
Yeah, that's true.
good name.
R.I.P.
Humphrey Warnick is pretty
Humphrey's
great.
all right, yeah.
I think both great names.
And this was the name of George Lucas's own dog. He named it. He named the character after
Where
his
do you
own
get
dog.
your ideas, George?
Is that true?
Yeah,
I never knew that.
is a female Alaskan Malamute who was the original source for the forename of Indiana Jones. And apparently Chewbacca from Star Wars also took inspiration from the dog Indiana.
Is this dog getting paid?
Yeah, this is a famous dog.
And
Yeah.
the Chewbacca, how so?
I think attitude.
Attitude.
You know
right.
what dogs are like.
And apparently he would ride with George Lucas in the front seat of his car because he's such a big dog, like he was like a co-pilot.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, they inspired. That was like, what if dog alien? You know, that's
okay.
George Lucas is a genius, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. He's a creative genius, and we all need to give him more credit. I'm sorry about what I said before. All right, we're into the pointy end of this report
Okay.
because here we are. We've had the trilogy. Is that it for Indiana Jones? There was a mini-series called Young Indiana Jones. So it was a TV show. It was sort of designed to be educational. And Young Indiana Jones would meet a lot of famous people, probably a lot of people that have come up in Do Go On reports, like Tolstoy. Have you done Tolstoy before?
We have not.
Oh, you haven't?
Sorry.
Picasso? Louis Armstrong?
We haven't done this.
We did a
Churchill?
Picasso painting theft.
Yeah, that's right. I did the
Sigmund Freud?
Churchill, we did his Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Ernest Hemingway?
I did a book cheat on one of his books.
Well, Indiana Jones, young Indiana Jones met all of these guys, apparently,
That's
along
cool.
the way.
Holy.
He also
Really shaped him.
He fights James Bond. Daniel Craig guest stars in one of the episodes. And
Is it a cartoon or is it live action?
it's live action, like
Oh.
apparently extremely expensive as well.
Young
I
Daniel
never saw
Craig,
it.
are you serious?
Yeah. And he
As
fights
James Bond.
as
Bloody
as
hell.
one of the Kaiser in World War One. He also fought in World War One. He's
Wow.
a busy guy, Indiana
Wow.
Jones, and he also once fought Dracula
Sure.
as well.
Yep. Makes sense.
Which is really fun. So now Lucas is going, hey, this gives me an idea. What if now Indiana Jones is, in the 1950s? And if he's in the 1950s when we follow that B-movie idea, then we should go and have him fight aliens. A lot of the 1950s movies
yeah.
would deal with
Really?
like invaders from outer space and invasion of the body snatchers and those sort of Cold War-esque, someone's coming to get you type things. And Spielberg was not into it. And Ford was not into it as well. He said, no way am I being in a Steven Spielberg movie like that. And Spielberg had already made Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T., so he just didn't want to, they weren't interested in bringing aliens.
It feels like it would have
into
been
it.
I don't mind it personally, but it feels like the fandom wouldn't have loved it. It's quite a left-hand turn.
Well, speaking of spoilers,
I think it would have been strange as well. So there was no 90s Indiana Jones movie, even though there could have been. Early 2000s, Spielberg's son apparently said, "Hey, when's the next indie movie coming out?" And they got inspired again. They were talking about this idea of like getting aliens from a different dimension. Okay, maybe not from outer space. What about a different dimension? Like Lucas is trying anything to try and like, hey, come on, I want to do aliens. And they talked, and Spielberg thought about the idea of using these crystal skulls to ground the idea. Apparently, that grounds it in Spielberg's eyes.
yeah,
That movie's about aliens.
Well, crystal skulls apparently are a real thing. Well, this is interesting. I read about this. Crystal skulls are real in that they have been made and they have been found, but it seemed more like these people in the 19th, 18th century made these crystal skulls in Germany and then pretended that they were from a more ancient era. And they're like, oh, look what we dug up. And then people are like, I think you just made that. I think you just made that up. M. Night Shyamalan. I always get his name wrong. Shyamalan. He was recruited to write a version of the next movie, which I could not find a record of, but we can imagine what an M. Night Indiana Jones movie could have been, and it could have been awful. I assume. I can only assume, judging by his films. Then, sorry everyone out there, getting so bitchy towards the end. I get catty sometimes.
I love it.
So Indiana Jones 4 was almost the City of the Gods, and this also is another cancelled movies podcast. They recreate this one as well, which I listened to. This was by Frank Darabont, who also wrote a possible Mission Impossible 3 script that didn't get made. But he's famous for The Shawshank Redemption and a bunch of other films. In this movie, it's very similar to what became The Crystal Skull, but he had a few sort of things that came in it, like Sean Connery popped up in his, and there was this kind of cool, kind of corny moment where Indiana Jones gets fired. He gets really drunk. He's wandering through the university, fed up about his life, and he feels lonely, and he sees the idol from the first movie. It's now on display in a university case, like behind glass and on an alarm. And he decides, I'm going to steal that idol
with a bag of sand.
And he goes over to what do you call, like the cigarette where you put your cigarettes out, and he gets some sand from the cigarette
ashtray.
The ashtray. Thank you so much. I don't smoke. It's a dirty habit. And he gets some sand from the ashtray, puts it into a bag, and recreates that scene from the first movie and steals the idol. And then the alarm goes off, and then he gets attacked by Nazis.
I like that, but then he's always banging on about how these things need to be protected, they need to be on display somewhere, usually a museum, but at university, close enough. He's nicking it. What's he going to do with it?
Well, he's drunk and upset. Okay, he's an old man in this movie, and he's not getting any love.
You haven't seen this one?
Well, this one didn't get made.
No, I actually haven't.
Answer the question, Dave.
Okay.
This one was almost called The Atomic Ants, or Indiana Jones and the Sorcerer-Men, Indiana Jones and the Giant Ants.
Oh, no.
Indiana Jones and the Mushroom Cloud.
And the Giant Ants, that's
so bad.
Yeah.
David Koepp was brought on, and the movie was almost called Indiana Jones and the Destroyer of Worlds, based on the J. Robert Oppenheimer quote. But then it was changed to The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, this is really regarded as the worst one, and we're going to spend the least amount of time on it. Dave, what's your relationship with The Crystal Skull?
I enjoyed it. I saw it at the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
First time I'd seen an Indiana Jones at the movies. And yeah, I thought it wasn't as good as 1 and 3, the other romps. But I don't think it's as bad as everyone said, because everyone was pissed off that there's aliens. But it's like, well, if you're on board with a 2,000-year-old old man hiding the Holy Grail, I mean, you're probably on board with aliens, right?
Yeah, there's always been fantasy in it, which I think is strange as well. People go, what is this? Why is this happening? There's aliens and they're from a different dimension, and they only reveal it at the end.
Yeah, and then the first one, it's got the arc that literally melts people's faces.
But people also had a problem. There's a sequence early on in this movie where Indiana Jones is running away from Russians. Russians are the bad guy, and Cate Blanchett is the main evil Russian. She's interested in psychic warfare and being able to defeat her enemies using just her psychic powers. And Indiana Jones runs away into this model village type thing, and it's like, why are all these mannequin people in this village? And it turns out it's a testing ground for nuclear bombs. And Indiana Jones, the alarm starts going off. He's like, uh-oh, a nuclear bomb's going to get dropped on this town. And in order to protect himself, he goes into a fridge, which is iron plated.
This is the idea that was taken from the Back to the Future original script.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, the original testing site for Back to the Future, the time travel was going to be that.
That was going to be, rather than a car, it was going to be like a fridge or whatever.
Yeah, and then he is able to survive. He flies off in the fridge, lands, rolls out, and he's like, dusts himself off.
And they actually did that on Mythbusters, and it was full nuclear test.
And I think that's a bit of fun. Watching that. It's really silly, but I think that's a bit of fun. people also complain about this monkey sequence later in the movie. We meet Indiana Jones' son, who is sort of like one of the writers wanted to make him a nerd, but once again, Lucas got his way and wanted to make him a cool guy, sort of one of those motorcycle rebel without a cause type people, a greaser they call him.
Is it Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, it's Shia LaBeouf, which also people were not really fans of, but he was the guy. He was the guy at the time. There's this sequence where like Shia is trying to catch up with these guys in the jungle, and he's stranded, and he's in these trees, and he sees these monkeys swinging through the trees, and he's like, oh, maybe I also can swing on vines, and he sort of teams up with the monkeys and swings through the trees
that
with them.
Sound awesome.
And the monkeys aren't really very well realized CGI wise, so it just looks a little bit.
Or character wise, we don't know what's motivating them.
They're not really fleshed out that well. So yeah, this is a sort of father-son tale. His son's name is Mutt. Which is not a great name. His name is Mutt Williams.
Well, also named after a dog.
Yeah, we call the dog Mutt.
Mutt.
Yeah, Mutt.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Williams.
Mutt Williams.
Okay.
And Indy doesn't know that he's his son at the time. So they go off on this adventure. He's like, my mum's in peril. You know this other archaeologist named Oxley. He's interested in these crystal skulls. We've got to go and like beat the Russians to get this crystal skull. So Indy is off on adventure once more, despite him feeling a little bit too old for this shit. And he learns that Mutt's mum is Marion, and so they're reunited. So there's a sort of, oh, wow, Marion and Indy are back together again, now in much more favorable ages, which is nice to see. I mean, she's still much younger than him, but at least she's not 16 and he's 27, because that's not great. What else can I tell you about this movie? So this movie ends with aliens being revealed. A skull is placed upon this alien skeleton, and then it opens up this portal, and then I'm sorry, Matt. This is the one you sort of want spoiled, so you don't want to really have to go and watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And unfortunately, Cate Blanchett she doesn't make it out alive.
What?
Yeah, sorry. And that's our Kate. I'm sorry, Kate.
Sorry, Kate.
At the end of the movie, there's this moment where Marion and Indy get married, and as they're making their way out of the church...
He's Marion,
and the wind blows the door open, and the door knocks Indy's hat off a hat rack, and the hat rolls over to Shia LaBeouf, who is about to reach down and pick up the hat, and the swell of the Indiana Jones theme begins to play, and just as Shia LaBeouf is about to pick it up, Indy swoops in and puts it upon his own head, and Shia LaBeouf just watches him walk away with the hat. And I could feel like the whole movie theater. I remember watching this with my friends, just get like a shiver down their spine, sort of going, there's no way I'm watching a Indiana Jones movie where Shia LaBeouf is.
So they loved that. They loved that was the fake out was a fake out.
I think so, because Spielberg has been quoted as saying, it's certainly not my intention to ever have another actor step into his shoes in the way that there have been many actors that have played Spider-Man or Batman. There is only going to be one actor playing Indiana Jones, and that's Harrison Ford.
Yeah, right.
Because it truly is like, he's not a really interesting character to like explore the different parts of. He is Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford brings so much to
Who
that.
Who would be the modern day one? It'd be Chris Pratt, probably, right?
Well, that's what people were sort of talking about when they were chatting about like the next Indiana Jones, because it's always the most boring idea in terms of casting.
Yeah,
it's like, let's get Chris Pratt in. But I think Chris Pratt is now done. Like, it's like, let's get rid of Chris Pratt as the go-to guy, especially after all those
He's in
Jurassic
Mario
World
coming
movies tanked.
Did they tank the Jurassic?
Well, the last ones did.
Yeah,
Did you see Jurassic Park Dominion?
I didn't, but
Jurassic World
I just
Dominion?
assumed they were big hits.
Oh, yeah, I watched it on the plane. I mean, they're all the same movie. Evil person brings dinosaurs back despite everyone telling them it's a bad idea. It goes wrong.
They're not
Someone
all
saves
the
the
same
day.
movie. The last one has locusts in it more than dinosaurs.
Yeah, but they were all sort of... They're all similar.
Well, I'll come back and do the Jurassic Park movies.
Okay,
so we
great.
can chat about that. So we're coming to the end. But there's another Jurassic Park movie. There's another Indiana Jones movie. What have we been talking about this whole time?
Yeah.
There's another Indiana Jones movie on the horizon.
Yeah.
I might have a little inside scoop here, guys. When I was in,
Are you in it?
I was in Morocco last year. One of the tour guides said they filmed a bit of Indiana Jones down this street.
Wow.
And I took a photo of that street.
Wow, you're going to be able to sell that for a lot of cash.
I'll be able to.
Did they say which Indiana Jones?
The next one.
Oh, all right.
Just quickly, again, gotcha here.
Uh-oh.
Dominion is the third highest grossing of the Jurassic Park ones.
So
Fallen Kingdom the second most, and Jurassic World the first. So the 2015, 2018, 2022 of those three. I mean, that would be inflation or whatever, but they're all. I think they're all doing okay, mate. So you don't have to worry about it.
But you said third most of the three movies. It did the worst.
Third most of the series.
Oh.
Because there was the original trilogy, but the new three are the three highest grossing.
This is a gotcha. This is not a gotcha.
Gotcha.
The ultimate I'm actually moment from Matt over here.
Yeah.
So the next movie is going to be called The Dial of Destiny. How do we feel about that title? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
What could it
It's going to be phone related, I guess.
You
I
think
like it.
He's going to get his first phone? Is that what you
Dial
think?
D for Destiny.
Oh, that's good. Or M for murder, like Alfred Hitchcock once tried to dial.
Well, no, I think that's what I was referencing, but I don't think that'll work here because it's already been done. You know what I mean?
Dial M for murderousness. The Troy McClure film.
You've, Marcel, you're way off here.
So this next movie, Spielberg's not directing, and George Lucas, is just an executive producer. It's being directed by James Mangold, who you might know from the Logan movie or the 3:10 to Yuma remake. So I think it's exciting to get someone else involved. Get some younger blood.
People love Logan, right?
Yeah.
How old's Harrison though?
He's 80. He's 80 years old.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right, so he'll have to keep playing, but will he be more of a Sean Connery type father of the guy again?
I think so. And they have some footage of him being aged down in some of the sequences, so we'll see some young Indy. People are a bit nervous about how much of the movie will be like him. And if you've seen The Irishman, did anyone see that movie?
No, too long.
Well, he gets Robert De Niro gets aged down and Joe Pesci gets aged down and Al Pacino, but you can still see that they're old performers. So there are moments where it's like, oh wow, amazing technology that their face looks so young, but then you see them moving and they move like old.
They've all got
people.
hunchbacks.
Yeah, it's jarring. So in this movie, Sala's going to come back. So John Rhys Davis is back, and joining them will be Phoebe Waller-Bridge from Fleabag fame, playing Marcus Brody's daughter. I didn't give much of a shout out to Marcus Brody, but he's also an excellent character in it who plays Indiana Jones's university colleague.
She'll break that fourth wall.
Yeah, she'll turn to the movie and say, "I wonder if we're going to have butt sex later."
Hey, you're meant to be the one who saves this movie.
We both do really great Phoebe Waller-Bridge impersonation. Antonio Banderas is joining the cast, and the villain is going to be Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh, great villain.
Everyone loves Mads. We don't have much of a synopsis for the next one, but IMDb says, experience the return of the legendary hero Indiana Jones in the fifth installment of this beloved swashbuckling series of films. A new era.
Swashbuckling.
Yep. I wouldn't say that Indiana Jones is a swashbuckler, but still.
You always kind of think swashbuckling's on the high seas, but
it doesn't.
Maybe
have
this could be land swashbuckling.
I think that's usually like a sort of brave, daring do sort of hero who is always sort of a little cocky, quick to talk back.
Right. He's not like
always
that.
has a quip. He's not quipping. He ain't a quipper.
I thought you did give a quip earlier. You mentioned a quip.
Don't that belongs in a museum? That's not a quip.
No, not that one.
I hate snakes.
I'm worried about my whip.
I don't like fast women. Yeah, I'm worried about my whip.
That's a dark quip, but it's still a quip. And that also wasn't from a film that got made. So
2 things before we go. Real-world inspirations. So one of the real-world inspirations that might come up in a future episode is Percy Harrison Fawcett.
Whoa, that is close to Harrison.
Yeah,
Ford.
wow.
He, possibly the individual most often touted as an inspiration for Indiana Jones is Percy Harrison Fawcett, a British Army officer, surveyor, and daring jungle explorer. Fawcett's life story reads like the plot of an adventure novel or action film. He spent much of the 2 last decades of his life exploring the deep and unknown jungles of South America, going on frequent long expeditions while still finding time to serve on the front line in the First World War. For the last 10 years or so of his known life, stemming from his research and studies in archaeology, he became convinced that in the depths of Brazil's mighty Amazon rainforest was a lost city. He believed this to be the ruins of an ancient and once mighty civilization. He called this city Z, or as some people would say, Zed. What are we supposed to say in Australia?
Zed.
Okay. In May 1925, Fawcett, his son Jack, and his son's friend Rayleigh Rimmel left Dead Horse Camp in the middle of the Mato Grosso region in the heart of Brazil to find Z. They were never seen or heard from again, and theories about their fate range from them living out their days with a remote tribe revered as kings to them being murdered. Fawcett actually becomes a character in one of the Indiana Jones novels. There's novels, there's comic books, there's video games. He appears in Indiana Jones and the Seven Veils. As a character, he went missing, but Fawcett was actually successful as a character to find the city of Z, where he was held within the city's walls as a breeder. During that time, he was manipulated into fathering 5 children by different women posing as his wife. So, this is sort of a twisted thing for a novelist to be
yeah, wow.
Taking a real life person, being like, what if he was captured and turned into a breeder for this city?
That's strange.
There is a movie, I think it's called The Lost City of Z, which I saw a few years ago. It's pretty dark. It's not a romp, but it's really well made. And lastly, when Han Solo met Indiana Jones.
What? How is that possible?
There's a 10-page non-canon comic story that they published. Within its pages, Han Solo and Chewbacca pilot their starship, the Millennium Falcon, blindly into hyperspace and end up crashing into the planet Earth's Pacific Northwest. Solo is attacked and killed by a group of Native Americans, and 126 years later, his skeleton is discovered by the archaeologist Indiana Jones, who finds him somewhat familiar.
Wait, so this means that the galaxy far, far away was 160 years ago?
Wasn't that actually that long ago?
Yeah, what did they say? It's like galaxy...
A long time ago.
A long time ago.
India.
160 years, I guess, is a long time.
Yeah,
galaxy far, far away.
It's a while.
I always assumed it was thousands of years.
Me too.
Maybe
But there you go.
It's all relative.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And he discovers the body and goes, that's a beautiful skull.
Well, he's in the forest because he's searching for the fabled Sasquatch, who is in fact Chewbacca.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's a fun little stupid thing. A fun little silly comic book.
So when you say he meets his decomposed remains.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to reanimate him or
guy
something.
Looks familiar for some reason. The great unknown.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, it was going to be too silly to get them to meet
they didn't
at the
hang
same
out.
time.
I think it's sort of sad in a way. I don't know why I use the word silly. He's looking at his own skeleton face to face with his own death.
Yeah.
Bit of a gag to end on. 5 stars.
That's
Wow.
so good.
Yeah, so how do we feel being overwhelmed with indie?
I feel excited. I feel keen to watch a movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch them all.
I'm trying to blank out the plot points as much as I can, trying to figure out.
Well, as I said, I had very detailed synopses, but with the ticking clock and with all right, I don't want to break my record from the last episode.
You're talking about the ticking clock like you've been racing, Dave. How long are we going for approximately?
2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. A bit speedy, mate. Let's fucking go.
And I didn't want to spoil it for you either. I didn't want to go into that brazier level of detail. Love Michelle's Fast and the Furious episode.
But she also went through 9 movies.
This is true.
You've gone into exactly the same amount of detail.
I talked about 4 movies plus 2 or 3 that weren't made and 1 that's about to be made.
Right.
The good news is I can't remember anything Michelle said last year, and I've only seen the first 2 of those movies, so I can go blind into those.
Oh man, Fast and Furious is the best.
I'm the same. I can't really remember much at all. There was a cliff in one of them.
Well, you famously keep saying that nothing that you say on those episodes gets retained at all.
Yeah, that's right, mate.
So,
You'll leave this building, you'll be fine.
Pre-rewatch, Dave. What's your ranking of the 4?
1.
You really can't remember because Dave's been saying it he said it multiple times.
Yeah, 1, 3, 2, 4.
1, 3, 2, 4.
Yeah,
that's also Dave's pin number as well.
Yeah, that's because I remember Indiana.
Is that the classic ordering?
I'd say most people would agree with that. But you think 3 is
I put 3 first because that's the one I fell in love with.
So you go 3, 1, 2, 4. So 4 is sort of consensus bad. or worse?
It just was not. It was never going to reach the same heights. Well, the next one, Redeem.
I don't have high hopes for it, but I'll go see it at the movies.
The hope is that Wolverine Origins was a terrible X-Men Origins Wolverine was a terrible movie, and we didn't want that to be the last time we saw Wolverine. So then when Logan came out, we were like, oh great, that's a nice swan song. Swan song.
And now he's gone again.
Now we hope, now he's come back with Deadpool, but now our hope is that Indiana Jones gets a nice little send off in this one.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. I think I'll just say that I think I'm easier to please than most Indiana Jones fans. The same with Star Wars. I like them all. I find them all fun and, whatever. And
you love all the Jurassic Park movies. You're like prime audience of buying tickets to just anything. Whatever slop will be put in front of you.
Just like blockbustery type movie. I mean, I enjoyed Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, for God's sake.
Yeah, strange film.
Yeah.
Aliens vs. Predator Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, wow. That was a dark movie.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Marcel.
My absolute pleasure. I never want to think about Indiana Jones again, so I'm glad that you're inspired.
Yeah, did you do like a multi-rewatch?
I watched all of Crystal Skull. I watched most of the rest of them, but I spent most of my time watching behind-the-scenes stuff and that sort of thing. Things that I hadn't seen before. Absorb it all. I watched almost a full episode of the Young Indiana Jones, which is not
almost a full episode.
Well, they're all on YouTube, and they've been sort of changed into feature length. They were originally episodic, but now they're into features, and so they're a bit of a slog for something that isn't of that same quality. Harrison Ford's in one of them, and he plays a saxophone, and he defeats.
As in his character is a saxophone, or
He picks up a saxophone as he's waiting, as he's just killing time. But then these bad guys try and take away this particular peace pipe that he's tried to recover. And then the bad guys are walking out of this cabin that's covered in snow. And Indiana Jones sits back, picks up the saxophone and starts playing a particular note on the saxophone that stirs up the snow on the roof that then falls upon the henchmen that have the peace pipe, and he wanders over and collects the peace pipe. So we also know that he has that skill.
So you think you're a bit far-fetched? Is that what you're saying?
I think I am saying that.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Marcel. Really appreciate you coming and telling us all about Indiana Jones, one of my favourite characters of all time. But if we want to see more of you live, in the flesh, improvising with your wife, is that possible?
It is possible.
Wow.
Thank you so much for asking that extremely specific question.
I've got a weird list of requests.
Yeah, find me on Instagram. I'm Marcel the Comedian, easy to find. And we are the Newlyweds Improv, so you can look up times for Melbourne Comedy Festival. And also, I know you've got listeners around the world. We're planning to come to Edinburgh later in the year as well, and do the Edinburgh Fringe and a few other surrounding shows in the UK. So yeah, look us up because we may be coming to your town sooner than you think.
And they are great.
Yeah, that's threatening, but I love them.
We may be outside your door right now.
And we're back in the room. Now it is time for everyone's favourite part of the show, and it's just Dave and Jess here hanging out with you. We've lost Marcel. He's gone back to Sydney. We said, please don't go. He said, that's where I live. It's where my wife is and my dog and my family. And we said, Marcel, no. And it went back and forth for a while, but he has gone back to his home. Matt has also gone home.
He's gone to Sydney to see Marcel's wife and dog.
Because Matt was really struggling with Marcel leaving.
Yeah, because Marcel was saying, I've got to go. He started talking about how great his wife is, how good his dog is, how good Sydney is. And Matt said, I'm sold. I'm coming with you.
I'm in.
And he got in Marcel's suitcase.
Matt sort of blacked out, woke up, he'd bought tickets. It's not the first time it's happened.
Genuinely not.
Yeah. So anyway, we are here to do everybody's favourite section of the show where we get to thank some of our delightful Patreons, people who support us over on patreon.com/JugoOnePod. You can join as well if you would like to. You get to vote on topics. You get to enjoy 3 bonus episodes per month.
That's right. And there's 160-ish in the back catalogue that you can get straight away.
There's a lot. And you get to be part of the most beautiful part of the internet, which is a little Facebook group.
I love that group. And recently that group and everyone on Patreon was, dare I say, treated to the Do Go On Awards.
Yeah, the Do Go Honors.
We had the Do Go Honors, that's right. We had a full award ceremony this year live from Stupid Old Studios that you can still watch if you join us on Patreon. We had guests. We had songs.
Yeah.
We had awards. It was just a great time.
Have you, Dave, had to explain to anybody what you were up to that night? Because people are like,
thankfully-
how was your weekend? Or people saw it on Instagram. This is like people in my real life or at my other job. And they're like, oh, I saw the awards show. What was that? What was that about? And I was like, well, it's like a funny thing. It's normally just a podcast we do. We vote on, but this time we did a full-on awards show with there was a crane camera and we had a musical number.
There was a crew of about 9 people working on it.
Yeah, it was a lot, and it was so fun. And so, yeah, if you want to check that out, you can just join up on Patreon, and it'll be there for you.
I think I just avoided seeing people because I didn't have to explain it to
It's so strange to
outsiders.
explain. And it was because it was also the weekend of the Hottest 100.
Yeah, very big weekend for you.
So I'd had not a lot of sleep at all. Was just running on fumes. And so people would be like, oh, congrats on the Hottest 100. Oh, and then you had this awards show? And I have to explain. I was like, yes, I did have an awards show. It was mostly us giving awards to ourselves, but so it's a lot of fun. Definitely go and check that out. It was something really special that we got to do. But what we're going to do right now is a little section that we like to call the fact, quote, or question. It's got a little jingle that goes a little something like this. Fact, quote, or question.
Ding!
He always remembers the ding. She always remembers the sing. It's really hard being Matt and Jess at the same time. So thank you for taking care of the Dave section.
Doing a great job. I will try my best.
This is where some of our delightful Patreons on the Sydney Scheinberg Deluxe level, is it, Dave?
Yeah, the memorial package.
That's right. They get to submit a fact, a quote, a question, a brag, a suggestion. It can be literally anything they want it to be.
We've had recipes.
This is for them. And they also get to give themselves a title. So let's get stuck in. This week, our first fact, quote, or question comes from Michael Dorizzi. And Michael has given themselves the title of Red Hot Comic Book Movie News Shooting Up Your Butthole.
Grab that jam.
And Michael has given us a quote. And that quote is banana.
Banana.
That's obviously a very famous quote from Jess Bop Perkins.
And where does that come from, Jess?
Michael might have just noticed a bit of a pattern in that if I'm asked to just think of a word, people even if I go to an improv show and they're like, can I get a word? Just any random word, I always say banana.
Banana. All right, we need a location.
Banana shop.
Okay. And
banana farm.
Occupation?
Banana farmer. It's all I think of is banana.
It sounds like you're ruining the show, but that is genuinely what your mind is doing.
Straight first thing I go to is banana. I think it's a satisfying word, but it's just the first thing I think of. So if you're ever needing to, if there's 2 of me and you're needing to figure out who is the clone, and this is a conversation you and I have all the time.
Yep, I know this.
Just say give me any random word. First thing you think of, 1, 2, 3. I'll say banana.
And they'll say
chimichanga.
And I'll say, I'm afraid it's good night for you.
Chimichanga.
Push them out the window.
Thank you. Correct.
The closest thing I've ever had to that is when I used to care about Twitter and be like, all right, I really should be writing some jokes to put out there. I'd be like, what's funny? What's funny? What's funny? And the first phrase that would always come to my head was Russian roulette.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing funny about it.
But it's fun to say.
Terrifying game, but
yes.
Yeah. And I never wrote any sort of tweets or jokes about it, but I'd always think Russian roulette. Didn't help.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
First thing that popped into my mind. So that's how you know. You get me and my clone to draft a tweet with 2 words. I'll have Russian roulette.
Okay, great. See, this is so important that we have these conversations. Yep. Let this be a reminder to you listening to have these conversations with your loved ones.
Absolutely.
So they know which one of you to shoot.
Exactly.
Or push out a window. Yeah. Okay? Your life could depend on this.
Yes.
So don't let the clones win.
It's very important. And we wouldn't have thought of that without our great man, Michael Dorizzi.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that quote to everybody's attention, as it deserves to be. Next, we have Andrew Swibes.
Swibesy. It's fun to say, Swibesy.
It is fun to say. And Swibesy's given himself the title Champion of Getting What Is Probably Too Excited About Stuff and Future Keeper of Facts for Gary, Indiana. Oh, an important job.
Very important.
Swibesy has a brag this week, which we absolutely love.
Very welcomed.
So my first submission, Matt, He's written in brackets, that's me. I'm reading this now because normally it's Matt.
Oh,
but
no.
it's Jess this time, Swibesy. I'm so sorry.
99% of the time it is Matt.
Yeah. So my first submission, Matt naturally called me Swibesy and I was just pumped. We just did it again. Probably too pumped to get an Aussie nickname of sorts. Then my second one that came up during block where Nick Mason just naturally called me the same thing. And they said it a few more times before Sassy Matt came out. He's always there. Sassy Matt is always lurking at below the surface. Anyway, now I've been trying to get people in Chicago to call me Swibesy. It won't catch on, but I can dream.
I would love to imagine what you're trying to... Nah, call me Swibesy.
Call me Swibesy.
Swibesy.
It would happen instantly in Australia.
Yeah, you could not get away from that name, Swibesy.
Guess I have to keep up with my Sydney Scheinberg level so I can keep hearing you all say it while hopefully becoming the official keeper of facts about Gary, Indiana. Cheers, friends.
You're the official Swibesy of this podcast.
Yeah, easily. And it's a role we take very seriously.
That's right. We auditioned thousands.
Thanks, Swibesy. That's so funny that we were immediately like, Swibesy! And then his brag is that we keep saying Swibesy.
That's great.
Imagine if he was like, question, can you please stop calling me Swibesy? And we're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Our next fact quarter question comes from Nathan Swap. Nathan's given himself the title Wizard of Mundane Curses. I love that. And Nathan's given us a question. Says, if you could put a magical curse on someone you don't like in your life, what would it be? Nothing harmful, of course. I mean, it's a curse. I don't see how that's
a nice
not
curse.
harmful in some way. And it looks like Nathan has answered his own question, which we obviously love. For example, I would make it so that my arch nemesis would catch every red light every time they drive.
Oh, that's good.
That is pretty good. At work the other day, this was during the Hottest 100 countdown, and a song from Vance Joy came on, like a very well-known Australian artist.
Fantastic. Acclaimed.
Quite famous.
Big seller.
Really beloved. And comes across as such a lovely guy.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues was like, fucking Vance Joy.
Really?
And I was like, you don't like Vance Joy? He's like, I don't like him. And he was like, he seems really nice. I don't know why. And he was like, if I could snap my fingers and end one person's career, it would be Vance Joy. What a strange... yeah, and he was like, I acknowledge that I could like save lives or really impact the world if I ended somebody else's career, but it would be Vance Joy. I think that's so funny.
Yeah, wowzers.
A curse you could put on someone you don't like. Okay, firstly, Dave, you have to try and think of somebody you don't like.
Okay, but I don't want to name them because I don't want to publicly do that. So this person I'm thinking of, what about, because there's no one that I truly hate that I know.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Obviously, there's evil people in the world that everyone knows about, but people that in my immediate life, I don't know anyone truly evil that I hate. So thankfully, it is not going to be a super harmful curse. But what about something like they're more likely to step in a puddle? Because I personally hate a wet sock more than nearly anything in this world.
Yeah, that can really ruin a day.
Yeah, a wet sock.
I would say that, like, they always have cold feet.
Oh, okay.
Or really hot feet. Because if my feet are too
that's a
hot,
nightmare.
I melt down.
And you think this person should experience it all the time?
All the time. They can never get their feet to a comfortable temperature where they don't have to think about it. Right now, I'm not thinking about my feet because they're just a regular temperature.
Yep.
But when my feet are too cold or if my feet are really hot, oh my God, I'm a nightmare. I think hot. I think they always have really hot feet.
So this is not the kind of thing where you'd say, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy because you have just done that.
I wish they always have really hot, sweaty feet.
Hot feet. Oh, no matter what.
They cannot cool them down.
Cool down those puppies.
And they're just feeling so uncomfortable.
That would be
all the
awful.
time. Yeah. I know, but I hate this person.
Are you thinking of someone?
No.
Oh, okay. But if you were...
They got hot feet.
Hold that for your enemies.
Not like sexy feet, like hot feet. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah,
love to think about that.
Interesting question for yourselves at home. Ask yourself, who's your enemy and what would you do to them?
But I mean, I'm thinking about what would really drive me crazy too. So it says a lot about me, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Also, I wouldn't be putting it out there because someone, if they have the power, will put that curse on you because they instantly know what you hate. Okay,
well, you're going to have wet feet now. Wet socks all the time.
Damn it, I'm an idiot too.
We're both idiots. Finally, for the fact quote question section, I would love to thank Tessa Chilcott. And Tessa's title is President of the Shits and Giggles Department.
Well,
And it's an important job.
Very important.
Important role. Tessa has given us a fact. And that fact is, in Israel, it is illegal to bring a beer to the beach. No idea why it became illegal. Fun to imagine that situation, though. Lol.
To bring a beer or a bear?
Bear. It's bear.
Because, there's quite a few beaches in Australia where over summer it's illegal to drink alcohol down there.
But we do.
But people absolutely do. But
you can't bring a bear to what if my bear, it's like the last day of my bear's life,
I immediately went to teddy bear. You're thinking it obviously is a real bear, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
It's a grizzly.
You couldn't bring a toy bear?
I don't know why.
Wow. Maybe you could bring like a bear cub and say it's a chow chow. Chow chows look a little bit like a bear.
I love a chow chow. I had a couple growing up. Loved them.
Did you?
Yeah. My dad loves them.
I didn't know that.
Did you know that? Yeah.
Huh. I walk the dog with a group of friends a couple of times a week, and one of those dogs is a chow chow.
I didn't know what colour.
Black.
Yes.
And he's like 9 years old, and he's like a bit over the walk sometimes. So now she has a pusher for him, like a pram.
No.
Yes. And he'll still walk like a K or two, and then he's like, I'm done.
I'm
and
getting
he
in.
gets in the pram.
And still would look at everyone like, yeah.
Oh, he has
better than you.
the best time, and all the other dogs are jealous. They're like, why the fuck does Raph get in the pram?
Raph the chow chow.
I'll show you pictures. He's gorgeous.
That's fantastic.
So sorry, Tessa, that I read that wrong. It is not bring a beer to the beach. It's bring a bear. It's a much more interesting fact than bring a beer to the beach. I'm sorry. You're right. What kind of situation had to occur for that to become a law?
Yeah, something had to go horribly wrong.
It's so much better when it's read properly, Tessa. So I apologise, but what a great fun fact. Well, that brings us to the end of the fact, quote, or question section. Now there's just a couple of other things that we need to do as well, Dave. How are we going to split this up? How are we going to do this?
Well, usually we shout out to a few other people by reading out where they're from and their name to thank them for supporting us on the shout-out level or above.
Yeah.
And usually, Jess, you come up with a bit of a game.
Oh, yeah. What was that? Indiana Jones. Okay. What if we gave them, how it's always like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? Or
Yes.
like, what if we gave them and the, do you know what I mean?
I love it.
Jess Perkins and the drink bottle of Doom.
It's always Doom.
It doesn't have to always be Doom. I just saw a drink bottle. And
Remember a few weeks ago I mentioned I used to listen to the Dave Gorman radio show where they had a segment called Pun Street where I mentioned there was a hairdresser's that I didn't understand. I didn't get the pun, but it was called Salon Le Bon. It's supposed to be like Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran.
Ah.
That's the one I remember. The other one I remember is they had a pet shop called Indiana Bones and it's a dog grooming and the Temple of Groom.
Oh, that's great. That is
They're
fantastic.
The two. One that stuck with me because I loved it and the other one, Salon Le Bon, because I was so perplexed.
That is still very confusing. That's great. Yeah, what do you reckon? We give them an and the.
And the, yes, love it.
Okay. Do you want to go... Do you want to... sometimes when there's just two of us, we go, let's just go back and forth. And inevitably somebody always forgets we're going back and forth.
Okay, great. So you just want to go first. You do the first 4.
Then you do.
I do 5.
Great.
I'll volunteer. I'll step up.
Great. Okay. Well, I would love to kick things off. And these are people that support us on the AskProd associate producer level and above, I believe.
It's all written on patreon.com.
It's nice and clear over there.
We do forget. We just forget.
I'm confident it's AskProd.
It is the AskProd level or above. You're absolutely right.
Over on patreon.com/do-go-on-pod. Hang on, I'm going to sneeze.
It became a laugh. I bless you.
Thank you. Okay, first I would love to thank from Naas in County Kildare in Ireland, Jean Temple.
They've already got Temple.
Jean Temple and
the Temple
of Jean.
I love it. What about Jean Temple and the Temple of Jeans and Indiana Jones? Like it's Jeans dressed like Indiana Jones, but they're wearing denim, like a full denim matching.
Yeah. And everything in this temple is denim.
That's incredible.
That's great.
First cab, off the rank. Loved it.
I would also love to thank from Perth in Western Australia, Celeste Haji Ali.
Celeste, that really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Haji Ali, you like it a lot.
Yeah, I remember Celeste suggesting a topic, and it might have even been Mary Celeste or something. I could be wrong there. Sorry, Celeste. And phonetically and telling us how to say their name. And I might have just butchered it, or we might be right.
I hope you've got it right, because I do love it.
It's great.
So it's Celeste Haji Ali and the mysterious...
Ooh.
Broom.
Yes. Mysterious broom.
What does it mean?
Who knows?
Find out.
You have to watch this 2.5-hour movie to find out.
It's only revealed
exciting.
in the final scene. It's a face-melting broom.
Roll credits.
Let's not forget the upcoming Indiana Jones is And the Dial of Destiny. So the mysterious broom
good.
isn't that out of
Oh, no. I think it's fantastic.
Sorry for getting a bit defensive over here.
Let's not forget.
Yeah, let's not forget that that's pretty good.
I would also like to thank from Reservoir in Victoria, Peter Short.
Peter Short.
Peter Short and the River of Destiny.
Oh, that sounds nice.
That sounds good. It sounds like it's like a paradise.
Yeah, it does,
But
doesn't it? I can imagine
But with
that.
like a darkness underneath,
Yeah.
you know? Like you'd be like, wow, an oasis, cool. And you're like enjoying it for a bit. And then like some members of your party start going missing and stuff.
Hang on.
It's interesting. It's exciting.
Good on you, Peter Short.
Thank you, Peter Short. And finally, for me, I would love to thank from Denver, Colorado, Evan Sumner.
Evan Sumner.
Sumner. There's a great Tassie band or duo called Sumner. Anyway,
Really?
Yep.
It's also Sting's real name.
Sumner.
Yeah.
Sumner.
Gordon Sumner.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Evan Sumner and the Tunnel of...
Truth.
Oh, that's good.
Tunnel of Truth.
Tunnel of Truth. I was going to say something really gross, and I'll just say that to you off air. Do you want to thank some people now?
My mind is racing here, people. Who knows what they could have been? Who knows what they could have been? What is the Tunnel of Truth? I would like to thank from East Providence in what I believe is Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Fantastic state. Underrepresented in our Patreon. So
My
great to
favourite
have you here.
miss in Miss Congeniality, Rhode Island.
That's great.
She's great. Anyway.
From Rhode Island, Trevor Pont.
Ooh.
Great name there, Trev.
Pont or Ponte?
Well, could be a Ponte.
Ponte, like the bridge?
Ponte. Ponte Vecchio. Trevor Pont and the delirious, delinquent
Oh.
Daniel.
Whoa. That sucked.
No!
That's pretty good.
You go, what the hell does that mean?
Who is this Daniel?
Trevor Pont and the delirious, delinquent Daniel.
See, that feels less like an Indiana Jones type romp and more of like a kid's mystery sort
It
of.
does sound-
Which I love. I say that.
You know what it honestly sounds like?
as a positive.
The Troy McClure movie. What is it? I'm trying to get the exact wording here. The Contrabulous Fabtraption of Professor Horatio Huffnagel.
God, they had some fun in the writer's room, didn't they?
So fun, so fun. Trevor Pont and the delirious, delinquent Daniel.
Thank you, Trevor.
I would like to thank now from Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Philadelphia. I'd like to thank Bracken Markins.
Bracken Markins.
Bracken. You don't come across that name enough.
Bracken Markins is such a good name. Bracken Markins and the Cave of Wanda.
Wanda. Not even Wanda. Wanda. Love it.
Wanda.
Wanda.
Yeah.
How do you spell it? Fish called Wanda?
Wanda. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Sounds pretty dirty, actually. Sorry, Bracken.
Like it.
Cave of Wanda.
Okay. I'd like to thank from Greenville in Texas. It's Minty Wells.
Minty Wells.
And the well of...
Oh. Minty Wells and the Well of Youth.
Oh, Well of Youth.
Yeah.
That sounds like something that Indiana Jones is going to look for.
Yeah, big time. You know, the myth of some sort of fountain of youth, a well of youth.
Now, I'm not going to read it out, but a big shout out to you,
Yep.
Minty Wells, for your email.
Yeah.
Did you see that there?
Yes, I did.
Oh, don't want to dox you, but that's funny
That's
stuff.
good stuff.
Well, I hope you put that on the job applications. I would like to thank now from Location Unknown. We can only assume they are deep within the Fortress of the Moles, a place that Indiana Jones would kill to get to, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
And this person is Anita.
Anita and the Anteaters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Love it. I love an
Fun
anteater.
band.
Yeah, Anita and the Anteaters.
Yeah. That's fun.
That's actually really good.
It's also a great romp film.
Yeah.
So it can be all of it.
Anita, do with that name what you will. You can form a band. We give you our blessing.
As long as we can be in the band. Thank you.
And finally, from Lincoln in Great Britain, I would like to thank Hannah G.
Hannah G. And the tree of light.
Okay.
Not tree of life.
Light.
Tree of light. What does that mean?
Is it a Christmas tree?
Is it a metaphor?
Oh, okay.
You know, it might be one of those things like the Holy Grail, something that's like, whoa, what is it? You know, it's exciting. You have to watch it to find out.
Well, Hannah G, I wish you luck on your journey.
So thank you very much to Hannah, Anita, Minty, Bracken, Trevor, Evan, Peter, Celeste, and Jean. The last thing we need to do before we skedaddle on out of here, let you people enjoy the rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it is that you're up to, is welcome a few people into the Triptych Club. Now, what this is these are people who have supported us for 3 consecutive years on the Sydney Scheinberg Deluxe level. And we like to welcome them into an exclusive club where we have drinks, we have nibbles, we have some live music.
Oh, yeah.
We have PowerPoints if you want to plug in your phone, give that a charge.
We also have PowerPoint presentations if you want to learn a new thing.
Yeah, if you want to, that's fine. We've got little sleeping nooks. You can go have a nap. We've got bean bags.
Oh, yeah.
We've got every type of chair that you could possibly want. We've got a little computer lab in the back where you can play video games or just look at naughty stuff on the internet.
Oh, wow.
Whatever. So,
Safe search is off.
We'd love to invite some people in. This week I will be listing off the names and also hyping you up, Dave.
Okay.
Because what Dave does is he welcomes you in with some incredibly clever wordplay, a bit of a pun based on your name, but it's really more about the energy.
Exactly. Don't listen to the words, listen to the energy.
That's right. That's what's actually important. There's also...
People can say anything they like, but they don't have this energy.
Yeah. I'm also in charge of drinks and snacks. This time, everything is served in a coconut.
Oh, great. Love it.
Yeah. So...
Love a coconut.
You can have whatever you want.
Can I make a suggestion for the snacks?
Okay.
Bad dates. That's an Indiana Jones reference. You'll get that when you, if you don't remember it from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And am I serving some bad dates in the coconut? Okay.
Oh, no. So that's separate to the drink. You can do whatever you want in the drink in the coconut.
Okay.
But you can also have coconuts full of bad dates if you like.
No, I'm serving all the food in coconuts as well.
Oh, okay. Great.
So if you want just some fries, that's fine, but I am putting it in the coconut.
Getting soggy from the coconut walls.
If you want a bit of soup, the soup that's always way too hot.
Yeah.
That's okay. You can have that, but it is coming in a coconut. I've bought too many coconuts.
I can understand. I can see that.
I've got to get rid of them. You also book a band, Dave. Have you booked a band this week?
You're never going to believe it. You are never going to believe it. And I wish that I had confirmed this when Marcel was still here, but unfortunately their manager hadn't quite got back to me yet, but it's just come through in the email. John Williams,
get out,
composer, is performing live. Unfortunately, the orchestra that he was conducting has been trapped in LA.
Okay.
They haven't made it through. So John
Temple
Williams.
of Doom.
It is a Temple of Doom.
That's what I call LA.
That's good stuff. So unfortunately, John Williams will not have an orchestra, but he will be humming some of the tunes of his favorite.
Right. I mean, we could probably just put on a Spotify playlist or something for him if he wants.
No. He
wants to hum it.
He's doing it live.
Okay.
He's doing it live. And he'll be like, remember that time that I did this song?
Yeah. And we'll be like, not really.
Everyone joins in. It's a real hum sesh.
Yeah, that could be quite nice, actually.
Everyone humming together.
All right, great. Well, I look forward to that. Look forward to meeting him. So let's welcome in some new members. We've got 4 new inductees.
Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get into it.
Yeah, he's already in a good energy. So first and foremost, I would love to lift the velvet rope and welcome in from Marrero, LA, Alan Abadi Jr.
Oh, Marrero, more like Ferrero Rocher.
Yeah, woo!
An expensive chocolate in Australia. Hopefully you also have that in LA.
Alan, you're a baddie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's young person slang.
You're a junior.
Cool. From San Francisco, California, it's Anna.
Well, I thought about throwing a spanner in the works, but actually I'd rather throw an Anna in the works.
Anna in the party. From, what is this? Brinesville. That doesn't make any sense.
Brinesville,
Pennsylvania, PA?
Yeah.
I would love to bring in Ian K.
You know what? You're more than okay. You're Ian K.
Yes. And from Perth, Western Australia, I'd love to welcome Sarah Witham.
Sarah.
If you're not with them, you're against them.
Yeah.
Sarah!
I was going to do something about your last name written down looks like with ham. Here she is, with ham. Sarah Witham.
No offense, mine was better.
It was honestly, that's why I went with you, but I just wanted to let the people know what I would have said, and it was not as good.
So welcome, Sarah, Ian, Anna, and Alan. Welcome. Make yourselves at home. Grab a coconut. Fill it with whatever you want, to be honest.
Yeah, and then just start humming along to John Williams.
Yeah, and enjoy. And with that, I guess that brings us to the end. Is there anything else that we need to let people know, Dave?
Well, we can let them know that if they want to get in contact with us, we've got an email. It's dogoonpod@gmail.com, and we're on social media, and you can find all the links on our website, dogoonpod.com, but we're basically at dogoonpod on things. If you want to follow us, that'd be fantastic. And if you want to suggest a topic, join the Patreon, all that sort of stuff, it's dogoonpod.com. Basically, that should be your homepage, people.
Yeah.
It's ours.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Mine's Google.
Stop using Google. Start using dogoonpod.com.
But I can't search for things.
You can.
Can I?
Yeah, it just always comes up with one of the three of us.
Wow.
So you say, which richest person in the world? Matt comes up.
Yeah.
It's a lie.
Most beautiful person in the world.
Matt comes up.
That's also a lie.
He has made it so he comes up for everything. But still, make it to the homepage, dogoonpod.com. But what do you reckon? We kick this baby home.
Yeah, let's get out of here, I reckon.
Hey, we'll be back next week with another episode. But until then, we'll say thank you so much for listening to us. And until then, I will say goodbye.
Laters. Bye.